now. There we go. And good day, everybody. We are live. And we got a fun VA panel here for you. We got the lovely Beau Bridgland, if I said that
Yes.
pronounced that
Hello.
correctly.
Yes, perfect. Absolutely perfect. 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Hello, everyone. Hey, and hello there. Yeah, I wasn't here last year, so I'm so happy to be back. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming back. Like, yeah, I know a lot of things were like up in the air with like quite a few VAs last year, so we're really happy to have the ones that couldn't make it last year back again.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was a bit weird last year, wasn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
everything's good now. So we're all here, we're all back, and yes, perfect.
Yeah, we're always happy to have you. That's for sure. It's always a fun time with any of the voice actors we end up getting, so it's pretty cool.
And hopefully next year there's like a whole load of lovely new people and stuff from a brand new game who can
Yes,
like,
we hope
maybe,
so.
you know,
Hopefully.
If we get more info about said game, come on, yes, we're waiting.
That's the thing, right? Because it's kind of like, I mean, I know they sort of did announce it, you know, like ages ago that it was due for like this year, right? Like it did say 2026, but it's one of those things where because we like haven't had a proper direct for 8 months, it's like this game could either come out like next month or Christmas. Like we could just get a direct, like with the way Nintendo have been doing things at the minute, we could just get a direct in a couple of weeks, and it's like the game comes out in 5 weeks, and it's like, oh, okay, like I don't know. Or it could be like next year, who knows? So yeah, I guess we'll have fun finding out. But
it's out in 5 weeks' time, and watch every store get tapped out of Switch 2s.
Yeah.
We managed to secure our Switch 2 in advance here. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel, what's up?
Hello. Sorry about that. I was running my way over here. Sorry about that.
No worries at all.
No worries. I was your backup. I got it, bro.
How's it going?
Good so far. We're just talking about the lack of. There's been like the lack of Nintendo Directs, right? And so in the same way that this, well, in the same way that this past week we've just had like, oh hey, we're releasing new Star Fox. It comes out in a few weeks. Like, we could have that with Fire Emblem. Like it could just. We could just one day find out it comes out in a few weeks, or we could get an announcement that it's coming out in a few months, and none of us know, and that's part of the fun of being a Nintendo fan at the minute, I guess. But yeah, so who knows when the new game's gonna come? But again, it could be forever from now. It could be no time at all. Who knows?
It truly is unpredictable right now.
That's for sure.
Let me see real quick here. Sorry about making you wait.
No worries at all. And that was the other thing we talked about as well. Just like happy to be back, and thank you for having me, and all that stuff. Because
yeah, of course.
No. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know, but in my head, I'm kind of like, you've got all these like cool people from like Engage and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm in Heroes.
Well, you're a cool person.
Hey, you voice one of the characters that that from the game that brought me into the series way back when it was first released in the West. So like, to me, that's cool. Okay.
Well, thank you. That's cool. I mean, I always appreciate that, but again, it's that sort of very like British self-deprecating thing, isn't it?
Oh, good point. Good point. Good point. Yeah, actually, no, I get it now.
Alrighty, I'm gonna hit live in a second.
Bud's already live.
We're already live, Bud.
Yeah, we're already good.
It's like to me, Kent is amazing, but I don't want to just presume that he's as amazing to me as he is for everyone else, because that would be frightfully rude to presume that of everyone. But I'm glad you guys love him as well. So yeah.
I can. I was gonna take over the because I know there's some audios. There's always some audio echoing. When
like no one in Twitch has said anything, so I think we're good to continue as is.
Okay. Only other thing, since we didn't have this officially announced, tomorrow, the first stream of tomorrow is actually not going to be the Fire Emblem Family Feud. It's going to be a little presentation I have. It's going to be me showing a video that I've done. So it's going to be the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance retrospective. It's not really so much a presentation as it is just a watch along of something that I've done before, but that's going to be filling up our first block. I think it's starting at 5:30 p.m. or 5:30 a.m. Pacific my time. So it's going to be an early one, but we're going to just be filling that block in before the first official panel with which is Fire Emblem Feud. We didn't really have we didn't really have an official announcement for that, so not everybody knows that we're sticking that in there. You'd have to look at the schedule on the website to see that, but yeah, that's just something I wanted to get out there in case anybody hasn't seen that yet on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just tuning into Twitch for a quick second here, even with my microphone on, and there's like no echo at all, so like it's golden.
Yeah, no, it sounded good from what I could test. Where were we? Self-deprecating humor, Fortune's Weave.
There we go.
I think that's been one of like the biggest memes of the con this year. Is I feel like almost every time there's been an opportunity to reference a lack of Fortune's Weave news, someone has brought it up. Like it was we were doing like a Jackbox style event. We've done a few that were actual Jackbox, and we did one that was like similar type of thing, and half of the comments, like half of the jokes were just when I get to pre-order Fortune's Weave, or various complaints about the lack of Fortune's Weave. Yeah, it's like, as you say, they just love to like shadow drop stuff as well, like literal Fire Emblem shadows.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just been weird like not having directs, because it's kind of like I don't know, it's nice like getting news about when you're gonna get your news. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's just, again, it was just really weird like opening up social media the other day and just seeing like a, I don't know, sort of quote unquote hyper realistic fox, and like I don't know, just with all like the AI slop and everything, it was kind of like you sort of see a fox and you see like your brain kind of processes all these different, like I see a picture of a fox and then I see the word Star Fox and then I'm like, wait, what am I looking at? And then it's kind of and then it's like Star Fox on Switch 2. It's like, wait, what? And there's a whole direct, and like, wait, it was on Nintendo Today. I was literally on the Nintendo Today app like 20 minutes ago. Like, did I just miss it? And you know, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're getting a whole new, well, I say whole new, Star Fox game. That's a whole joke in and of itself. But I mean, I'm still happy and excited. But you know, so I'm sure the same thing will happen with Fire Emblem. But yeah, I did like the theater of having nice big presentations and trailers and all this kind of stuff, and it was just, yeah, and it was just sort of nice knowing when you might get info about games and stuff like that, like, okay, what are we going to get like for the rest of this year or something like that, you know, like normally we'd kind of have a sense of like all the different things that are coming out, you know, like say for the rest of the year and when they'd come out, but we don't this year, and I'd like to know when we're getting more Fire Emblem.
Yeah, like I feel like we're gonna get like hit with a bunch of news like all at once, where it's like nothing, trailer, direct, release, like within like a 1 month time span. Like it'll be like boom, everything.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we know somebody didn't do anything for like the last year, so here's everything all at once. It's like, whoa, hang on. YouTubers cannot keep up.
We'll get the, like, you can VTube as like Marth and Ike and Roy, and just like you can, like, you know, like you can be Fox and Peppy and Slippy. Like now you can VTube as Marth and Roy and Corin and everyone. It'll be great. But yeah, no, I mean, it'll be, again, look forward to, but yeah, so but that's all. I guess that will have to wait for next EmblemCon, unless they want to drop that direct tomorrow morning.
It wouldn't be the first time we got Fire Emblem announcements during EmblemCon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Three Hopes. There was like a Three Hopes trailer like during the con, and our artist Sally just all scrambled to draw the new designs. Everyone was like, oh my god, my Blorbo has a new outfit, I have to immediately make merch of it.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, it's even like right before or like actually during. It was just like around the time that the con was going on.
Wow.
And there was like a very fun buzz.
But yeah, I think last time I was here, like Hopes was kind of like the last thing, because I was saying that before we kicked off as well. That like, yeah, first time I was here, so that was like 3 years ago. Like Engage had kind of not too long ago come out, and so I'd kind of done my playthrough of that. So we kind of talked about like Engage, and then the year afterwards, kind of talked about like Engage a year on, and I had like just played Three Hopes, and then last year not here, and then this year right before this one, I finally did a second playthrough of Engage, like long overdue playthrough, and I finally got the DLC and did it with the DLC, because last time I was here I was kind of like, chat, what do I do with the DLC? Do I like do a whole new playthrough, or do I just use my old playthrough to play through the Fel Xenologue, or like all those kind of things? And now I've actually like finally played through it, which is really cool, and I can finally talk about it. And now you guys all probably knew last time who Nell and Nil were, and I had no idea, and now I do, which is cool. So yeah, what is it? Actually, going back to Xenoblade. Sorry, this is like second time.
Yeah, we were talking about it briefly before going live.
Like Xenoblade Chronicles X had like a character called like Neo Nell or Neo Nell or something like that, and then Fire Emblem Engage had Nil and Nell. It's just what's with all these Nils and Nells and Neils and Nells and I don't know.
Yeah, like now Fire Emblem has like Niles, Nils, Nell.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, please be original. I can't remember which one's which anymore. There's too many too similar.
I keep seeing memes about like the two Arthurs and Arta, like Claude.
Yep.
You'd think they'd come up with more names.
So, oh my gosh, but yeah, no, I will just say, yeah, like, because I guess now we'll kind of venture into the inevitable, I don't know, kind of like continued what's better, Engage or Three Houses, or what's better, the Engage DLC or the Three Houses DLC. And I think like the Fel Xenologue I liked more than the was it like Cindered Ashes or Cindered Shadows, whatever it was called, the little story. I liked both stories, but I know in like a couple of years from now, I'm gonna remember the Fel Xenologue story better than like the other one, kind of thing. Like I can't even really remember the Three Houses one now. Whereas I know with like the Fel Xenologue, like I'm gonna remember that story in a bit, because I thought the story on it was really good. And I liked Nell and Nil; they were good characters and they were very interesting. And yeah, and then just seeing everyone kind of all opposite day personalities.
Yeah.
Was really, really like interesting and fun as well. So, and yeah, it was just like the whole kind of parallel world thing. I don't know, in a sort of 2020s Marvel Cinematic Universe world, everyone's kind of sick of parallel worlds, perhaps. But I thought the one in the Fel Xenologue was really cool. Like I thought it was, because that's with like the Three Houses story, right? Like that was kind of like I don't know, it was sort of like a hypothetical. Oh well, if you hadn't been in any house, but like 1.5 months of the story had gone by, here's how that might look, or something like that. Like it was a weird kind of. Whereas like with the Fel Xenologue, it was kind of like I don't know, it kind of felt like it fit into your playthrough more. Like, oh no, Aaliyah's kind of been warped off to another dimension and shenanigans are ensuing, or something like that. Like I kind of liked that more, and it kind of felt like it fit in more with your like actual playthrough and actual story and the world of the main story and stuff like that. It was like a clever way of kind of like adding in an extra story, but not kind of being as worried about when it happened within your own playthrough and stuff like that. Like I thought it was just really clever in that regard as well, because it kind of I mean, it was sort of a bit weird that you kind of like had to have a playthrough to play it. We'll get back to that in a sec, but like yeah, you do actually have to kind of like go into your save file and kind of you can't just play it separately. but which I think was perhaps a strength of the Three Houses one. Like I kind of liked that it was just its own little mini save file kind of thing that you could just do regardless of whatever save files you have on your game. But with the Engage one, yeah, I liked that um, kind of it just sort of it felt like it actually connected to the world and the universe more rather than just being like another like with like Three Houses. The whole thing about the game is like each like kind of house or each one of the sort of four different options you have for the story is kind of like its own universe in a way, whereas like and then the DLC is kind of almost like a fifth universe that you can go into, and then Three Hopes is like another universe, and oh my gosh, so many universes. Yeah, but like with Engage, I kind of like that it, I don't know, it just sort of felt like it ties into the main story more and stuff, and like the ending of it was cool, and how it kind of, again, it sort of feels like at the end of it how it kind of like links back to like your main playthrough, and it kind of works like regardless of how far you are in your playthrough, whether you're like 10 chapters into the game or 20 or something like that. Like that was just really cool. I'm trying to keep it like spoiler free, even though it's like several year old DLC that probably everyone here has played.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could talk more spoilery or less vaguely if permitted to do so, but I didn't want to just blurt it out because I don't know.
I think as long as you like warn,
Yeah.
spoilers are usually fine, is what we tend to say.
So,
and to be honest, a lot of spoilers tend to get thrown around at this con already. So
that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, 5 second countdown to like the end of the Fell Xenologue. You know, I've got like 5 second warning, like close your ears, like la 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 if you are. But like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone dies. No. But kind of yes though. But I kind of liked that though. I kind of like that basically the world is kind of destroyed, and like the few people that are left kind of like don't really have a world to kind of live in anymore. Like, I mean, they do, but you kind of don't. And it's like, well, then come to our world where, like, you know, it's still kind of alive and there are people and things. And I just thought that was like a really clever way of doing that. Whereas again, when you finish like the Cindered Ashes, Cindered Shadows, please someone tell me the name of this. I'm drowning here. Like every time I say it, I'm like, oh no, which one is it? But yeah, with that, it was you know, it was just sort of like a little contained story, but it was sort of then weird, like if you go into your playthrough and then just like the Ashen Wolves are just kind of there in the basement, but there's no kind of acknowledgement of the little story that there kind of was or whatever. Like that was just sort of like a bit of a weird thing. Like, so I like that Engage kind of tied it in, that kind of canonically these characters have kind of gone like if you've got these characters in your playthrough, canonically you have gone through the Fell Xenologue story of like going to this other world where like yeah, everything dies, and then but then you know they kind of make it out on the other end of it, and then they kind of come through, and I love that it kind of has like the sort of 4 hounds and the 4 winds, and like the 3 people who you don't get to use in the game you then get to use, and I just thought that was all really clever. Like I was like, oh, what a clever way of like getting you to be able to kind of play as the 3 characters who you didn't get to play as. Like that was such a clever way of doing it. Like other games would just kind of give them to you and give them dialogue, and I don't know, they'd just sort of talk all intensely and seriously whilst you'd sit there being like, why are these people on the same team? But in Engage, it makes sense. So I really like that.
Yeah, the Cinder Shadows DLC pretty much like it's just a separate story entirely, where it could happen concurrently. The game could either take it or leave it. It didn't really treat the Ashen Wolves as like a key part of the overall story for Three Houses. But yeah, the way they approached the Fell Xenologue was just like, oh yeah, it's just something you can just do. It's integrated a lot more clearly, like you were saying, and it's not just like it's not treated as so much as something that wasn't really an afterthought, but something that they wanted to include as part of it. And it's an alternate universe of all these characters who act very differently than the base game.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's sort of just interesting, kind of like when you then go back to the base game. It's kind of interesting looking at like you know like Nell and Nil and stuff like that, and thinking that like oh they may have like died in this universe and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't unlock all the support conversations. That's like a thing we can get into about my recent playthrough. That I didn't really do many of the support conversations this time, even with like the new characters. Um, but yeah, but you sort of just I don't know. You sort of just look at them. I don't know. I sort of like just had a bit more of an affection for the new characters because again, it sort of felt like I had kind of gone on their story with them, and that they were kind of carrying on that story in my playthrough. Whereas with, like Cindered Shadows, it's just kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, they're kind of like, oh, hey, you're that character from that other thing, but none of that has happened, or maybe it has. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, but again, I like the characters in both though. You know, sort of the ones in Cindered Shadows, like they were cool characters. I liked and enjoyed them. But again, like the Engage, it was such like a clever, creative way of kind of, I don't know, revamping the already existing characters, or like getting you to kind of use ones that were kind of already in the game, but it'd be hard to just kind of like have them join your team. And then obviously, yeah, Nell and Nil were really good as well. So um yeah, I didn't actually get to use Nell and Nil in my like regular playthrough. I used the other three, like I did sort of incorporate them into my team, but like I don't know, it was just really hard like adding like 5 new characters to my squad. um, like kind of, I don't know, that late in my playthrough. Like I was able to like incorporate like 3 of them, but it was just really hard using the other 2. But I used the other 2 like in the actual like Fel's log, so I didn't like feel too bad about it, you know.
The amount of deployment slots in Engage is like so unfair.
Like yeah, because it gives you like 3 new characters every 2 chapters or something,
and like no more slots. So it's like, well, who do I kick? I love them all.
That's the thing. I feel so bad. Like Brian's gone, right? Because like I've never really used Rosado. Like I love him. Like Rosado's like so great, but I've never really gotten to use him because he comes along too late in the game, and I kind of have my team and and I was kind of like, oh, maybe this time I will. And then I did the Falzine log, and then it was just like, no, I'm sorry, Brian. Like maybe third time will be the charm, but not this time. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard, man.
It's hard to commit, yeah, because like as with any Fire Emblem game, it's less common to start using characters that come in late game as is the ones that you've been playing with several chapters and you're already used to them by now. And it's like, well, like I could use and swap you out for a new character that I want to try, but I've been already investing all this time to building you or giving you this skill or whatever, like the Canta or Cantor skill or something
Yeah.
useful. And it's like, at this point, it's like I don't know. I would love to use these DLC characters, but at the same time, it's like I'm already kind of comfortable with what I have right now.
Yeah.
I ended up getting those DLC characters like after I already finished the game, so it's like, oh,
Right.
you can't even do a new game plus. So just like, oh heck, man, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, so it just it's again, yeah, that's the thing with Engage, like, so I messaged this to Daniel and stuff like that, but with this sort of replay through I can finally sort of hold my head up high and say that I'm not just a person who's like only exclusively, because I always feel like a sort of like a, I don't know, like a new Fire Emblem fan, even though I've been a fan of Fire Emblem for like over a decade now. But it's like I am one of those like, I got into it with Awakening. Like, oh wow, like the popular one that revived the series is the one that got, I don't know. It's like, wow, I really became a fan of Animal Crossing when it came out on the Switch. I don't know, like So I know, like saying that with like the I really got into it like on the DS. But I am one of those people. But yeah, Awakening was the one that kind of kicked things off for me and everything. But still, it's like I never played like any of the old ones, and I never did the classic mode permadeath or anything. But I did this time. But I still did it on like normal mode, not hard mode. And if the character did die, I did still use the rewind. But it's only because
that's totally fair.
the 2 or 3 times I had characters die, it was just like really silly when they did. Like I didn't realize they were like in range of an enemy or something like that. I was like, wait, what? Like I thought I was safe. Hang on, I'm going back. Because it's just like, no, I'm not having that. Although I did, and that I think 2 times that happened, and then I had 1 time super early on. I think it was like almost like the first level or 2, like after you get like Alfred, where like he died randomly in some enemy. I think like there was just like more enemies in range of him than I realized or something. And I was just like, what? No. And I was like, oh gosh, what have I done picking permadeath? But then actually it was fine. It ended up being fine. Um but like in my head, I kind of thought like, oh, there are all these characters, and maybe I'll have a few people die, and then I'll kind of replace them with the new characters that come along or something like that. Like that's kind of why I did it, and that's why I actually brought up this conversation, because yeah, the game gives you so many characters. Like in Three Houses, I could not imagine doing permadeath, because it kind of, for the most part, kind of gives you the characters at the beginning, right? Like you get like your students, and then you maybe get like a teacher or two, or someone kind of join you. But like, you kind of get that core right at the beginning, and then you get a couple of people kind of sprinkled throughout, depending on what kind of path you take. But I couldn't really imagine doing it, because it's like the people who you would kind of come to count on and like kind of focus your strategies around. It's like if you lost them, it would be like, wait, what do? I don't have a magic person now. But like, whereas with Engage, it's just like, well, here's 3 new people. So that's kind of what I envisioned in my head. But then everyone just kind of lived, basically. Like I did like 3 rewind deaths, because 2 were unfair and 1 was the like Alfred one that I was like, I can't lose him after like 1 level. This is just no, I can't.
Plus, no. if you lost Alfred, Akka might have an issue,
Yeah. So
not the muscles.
Yeah, most people who play with permadeath, like pretty much everyone just resets anyway. Like it tends to only be people doing like challenge modes that like actually keep their dead units.
That's the thing I was kind of thinking. It's like, well, I mean, even if I like didn't have the rewind function, I would still like turn off my game and go back to the start of the level anyway. Like even if there wasn't the option to rewind, it's like, well, I just redo the whole level again until I do it properly. So
yeah. That's what those of us who I guess played like the really older games, like that's what we would do, and it would suck.
Yeah.
Like you'd sometimes lose like an hour and a half.
Yeah, because nowadays we have, ever since Shadows of Valentia, there's just been some other plot reason or device that we have to go back in time to redo a turn or redo something. That's just part of what's making the game more accessible to newer audiences. Like people who have jumped in with Awakening, like that game started to become a lot more like considerate to newer audiences. So like it wasn't just the hardcore, like you lose a unit, start their whole chapter over. No, they have like the whole like, oh, you lose a unit, they'll come back for the next one. Which I think all of that really has helped the audience to warm up more to the series. It's not so as unforgiving as it was before.
Well, that's the thing. It's like as long as you leave that option in, like people. Well, I was gonna say people can't really complain, but then I don't know.
This is Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem fans can always complain.
I'll find a way.
There are always people on the internet who are willing to find a way to complain about something. But the point is that like but it's like as long as you kind of leave that option in or whatever, then people can just kind of enjoy it like however they want to enjoy it. That's sort of the thing I've kind of found about games in the last few years. It's like I've kind of realized like there are lots of different ways to play games. I know that sounds really stupid saying that out loud. Like it's like, yes, Beau, well done. But I don't know. Like I kind of like I'm a person where I don't know. When I was younger, I kind of got very set in playing games just like I don't know one way or something like that. So like if I played like a 2D Mario game or something, I'd be like, right, I have to do like every single level. Whereas now I'm kind of like, no, I could just do a playthrough where it's like get to Bowser as quickly as possible, kind of thing, like or something like that, and it's like, oh, yeah, I could just I don't have to like do it. If I want to play Super Mario World, I don't have to get like all 96 exits like every time I play it. I could just get to Bowser quickly or something like that, So, and that's kind of what I found this time. I was like, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do all the like socialization, support conversations and stuff like that this time, because I've kind of unlocked. I know you get like the benefits of pairing up people and I don't know, sort of boost their stats and stuff like that. But outside of that, it's like all I'd be doing is just unlocking a load of cutscenes that I have watched the first time around. Like the first time I pretty much unlocked like everyone almost kind of thing, right? Or I did most people's conversations, at least like the characters that I used. But like this time, I didn't really unlock many of the conversations. But it's a bit of a shame I didn't do it for like the new characters or the DLC ones. I didn't do many of them, unfortunately. But yeah, like but if you can just take Fire Emblem, sorry to really bring it back round now, but to play Fire Emblem kind of, I don't know, just having like those extra options and different ways to play, like I think it makes it more interesting. It makes it more replayable. You know, you can sort of be like me, where it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm gonna do one where I do it on casual mode, and then I'll do one on classic mode. But the thing about that though, this is the thing I've realized. Let me know if you guys kind of feel the same about this, because I think after I beat the game, I like messaged Daniel, and I think you sort of asked me like, oh, did you like have fun with it, or did you enjoy it more this time? I think you might have asked me, and I was kind of like, oh, I'll save it for the chat, um, because I think like I had less fun with it this time, but it's not because I'm like, oh, the game's not as good as I thought it was or anything like that. I think it is just because I put it on classic mode instead of casual. And because I put it on classic mode instead of casual, I played it in like a way more tiptoey hit and run kind of way, which was just a bit more boring kind of thing. Like if I'm able to just sort of send my units out there and kind of be like, oh no, I lost this unit kind of thing. In this playthrough, I'm like, right, well, I have to rewind now and I have to redo that turn. Whereas if I'm playing on casual mode, I can be like, let's see if I can still beat this level. Like I've lost this guy and he's quite useful, and that was really stupid of me. But well, let's see how this goes, or something like that, Or it might be like, I think I can still win this kind of thing. And so, like I play more aggressively if I play in like the casual mode, because if I lose someone, like it's fine, if a move like this move only has like a 75% chance of hitting, let's see if I can find another way, is like how I played on this new playthrough, but on an old playthrough I'd be like 75%, yeah, let's go for it. So I don't know, I just sort of found it, I sort of realized like it was just a bit less fun because I just play more cautiously.
Yeah, like
so I don't know if any of you kind of feel that.
Casual is definitely more like you could just be like, yo, I'm just gonna throw this at the wall and see if it sticks. It's like, I got a 35% crit. It's exactly like YOLO. Let's try it. Doesn't work. YOLO. Try again. But yeah,
it really does require you to...
classic, it's more like, okay, I gotta keep, because I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of guy where like all my units have to live. I will redo the chapter no matter what game I'm playing. I don't care. But like, I refuse to accept a death, but I also do not want to play casual, because I'm like, no. I want to see if I can do something different to figure it out. But yeah, it's more strict. You have to be more cautious, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
can this guy, like you're doing like 5 times more math, just making sure your favorite unit doesn't get taken out by the enemies that can reach. And it's like, okay, can they survive? Well, on casual, it's like, oh, they survive or not, they'll come back next chapter. It's okay, no big deal. But it's like, no. For classics, like I don't want to have to redo this chapter. If I don't like this chapter, I don't want to play it again.
Yeah, it really was hard because like my first playthrough was hard mode, and I was like, maybe I should have not done this because it's probably not as fun or engaging as it could have been if I had just done it on normal mode. But no, it was fun to like get the play from Beau as you were doing your second playthrough, because I kind of got the feeling that it wasn't jiving as much as it was the first time, because it was a lot more forgiving given the mode you were using the first time.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so I don't know. I think I just sort of, I think the first time I mean, I think it's one of those things as well where like the first time you play it, it's kind of like, because everything's kind of like new to you, you kind of enjoy it more. Whereas once you're kind of playing it
That
the second
too.
time, some of the things that are more um sort of surprise, like I don't know, I guess maybe like the things that impressed you because they were surprising to you, then they kind of wear off. So like although like I do think the like level design in Engage is really good and was like much better than Three Houses, I was sort of less impressed by it this time around, because I think when I played Engage, like I sort of come off the back of um yeah, I think when I played Engage, basically I kind of come off the back of like doing like essentially like 3 playthroughs of Three Houses in like 2 years, and I think those levels are quite like sort of straight laced, if I remember right or whatever. Um, and then Engage came along, and they're just like all these like sort of different and interesting levels. But like once I kind of knew what they were about, it's like so like the snow level kind of thing, like chapter, what's that, like 24. Um, that was like a again, I love that level and it's an amazing level, but again, when I redid it this time, it was just kind of like the novelty of it had kind of worn off. Like I knew going into it like what to expect. Okay, there are like these 3 segments and they're going to be avalanches and I need to keep my units kind of organized. Whereas, the first time I just sort of went into that level, didn't know what to expect. I'm like, oh wait, what? Like there's all these like sections and I have to keep my people safe from the avalanches and whereas I didn't have like any of that this time around. So like things like that where it's kind of like uh yeah, that sort of those novelty elements of surprise, like I didn't kind of have that this time. I think there maybe also was an element of like I was sort of like, I gotta complete this for EmblemCon, so I might have like rushed it a little bit, but I don't know, but I also feel like I took my time with it. I mean, I spent like 60 hours playing it or something like that. um but again, that included like the fell xenologue and all the divine paralogs, which I didn't have the first time. Like I beat this faster this time, despite having all that extra content. So I kind of did speed through it, but so I think maybe my first playthrough might have been a bit more a stroll in the park, whereas this one might have been a bit more kind of like move, move, move. I don't know, but nevertheless, like I did really enjoy this playthrough, and again, like the DLC was really good. I liked the divine paralogs. Although again, I'm not sure. Like, I feel like maybe because I did them early, they might have weirdly been easier because of that. Like, I sort of looked at some stuff
Oh
online where it
yeah.
sounded like they might have been harder if I'd left them till later. But like, I wanted the bracelets and I wanted to like use the characters. So
Yeah, they scale like on my, because my first run was also hard mode like Daniel's, and on the Crom paralog, I literally just cannot beat it. Like there's admittedly I'm not that good at Fire Emblem, but like because I left it like really late, it's just scaled like horribly. And like none of my units can like survive anything. Like the difficulty massive. I think it goes off of like the average level of your units as well, maybe, or that might just be like the on map battles. But like yeah, it's just like wild. Every battle I do on, because I have that as like a save where I'm just grinding battles to get support conversations, and like every single battle is like insanely difficult on that save because it's like a really late game save.
Yes,
So yeah,
whereas I can't actually off the top of my head like really remember any of the divine paralog things to be on it. Like I remember the fell xenologue levels, but yeah, the divine paralogs though, yeah, I just can't really like remember them because like none of them really, I don't think really gave me any much of a challenge. Like the only one I really remember was Veronica, just because when she like did her first summoning, I was just like, wait, what? This is Fire of the Heroes, but like in 3D. This is amazing. So when it just had like the music and stuff, and like and like the. And I like this just when like the music kicked in and like the stars on the screen, like the little bronze stars, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. Actually, did any of you? I mean, I imagine like you all like know this, like so I'm not asking like, oh, did you know that? But like, um, but like I but can you remember like if like when this happened the first time for any of you, if it happened? So when I used like the Veronica bracelet, I used it a few times because it was nice just having like a summoning like a sort of like a patsy ally to kind of go out and because like the computers often like kind of targeted them because they're a bit weaker and stuff like that. So I did find that quite useful sometimes, again, because I was like, I don't want to have to rewind a turn because someone died. So it's like, send out a patsy. Um, and so, I, would send out some random swordsman or axe wielder or whatever. And then, and it was always just like bronze 3-star kind of thing. And like, da, 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 but and then 3, but like, then one mission, I can't even remember the mission now, but I just sent out like a colorless one, and then it was like 5-star, and it was Byleth, and I was like, wait, what? Because I just did not know that was I didn't know that there was anything better than just like a generic 3-star like sword, axe, or lance person. Like I didn't know. Again, I thought just the 3-star thing was like I didn't know that was an actual like ranking, sort of thing. Like I thought it was just like an acknowledgement of the game, and it's like, here's like a weak dummy unit kind of thing. I didn't know you could actually get like a good unit, and I was just like, that just blew my mind when I got like
Same.
a 5-star, and it was like
Mhm.
Byleth, because that was I didn't even fathom that would be an option.
Yeah, that the
Forgive
same
me.
thing
Yeah,
kind of thing
they all
happened to
have.
me, and I was like, wait, I have 2 of these now? Dude, this is so cool.
Because
I think
normally
I
you
had.
get.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Oh no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think I am a filthy, filthy person who reads spoilers and had already read online exactly how Veronica worked. So I think I didn't get the enjoyment of having the surprise of it all.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing, yeah, like when you kind of know stuff or have experienced something, it's kind of like, yeah, like second time around or whatever. It's kind of like, oh, okay, like that's cool. But yeah, because but that first time, yeah, because I didn't know that was just like so cool. So yeah, Hector was like I think my MVP of the bracelets
Oh,
this
hell
time. I
yeah.
don't know if any of you, because I put him on Diamant, and it was just like a match made in heaven.
Oh yeah.
I think Hector was like, sorry to trash Roy, but I think like Hector was like everything I wanted Roy to be for Diamant. And yeah, it was just that was it just that was like such a good pairing. Because
That's okay.
one thing I feel very validated by is when I sort of like look at these, I look at all these like bracelets and rings and stuff, and I'm kind of like, I think this one might be good at that one, and then I'll kind of look, but I'll like look online because I'll be like, well, I don't want to like waste someone or whatever, so I'll kind of like look at some guide, and like a game rant thing will come up or something where it'll be like, oh, here's like the best units to use for every ring or whatever, and then when like those guides like say the characters that I picked, I always just feel a great sense of validation where I'm like, oh, okay, I chose wisely. I made the right choice. But although I think one that I don't think I really saw much, but I used it in both my playthroughs, was like Erica with Merrin, like the Erica ring with Merrin. I don't know. I just found that a really good, strong pairing. Again, Brian, I hope you're not here still, because I should be pairing up Erica with Rosado, but I like Merrin and Erica as a pair. Like that was a really strong combination. Um, and yeah. I don't know. There was just something about that worked really, really well.
I think that's part of the enjoyment of the gameplay is that there's so many different combinations that you can just discover on your own. Like what ring works best with which character. Like maybe there's a unique niche that you need for a certain map, or just someone who naturally works well with somebody else. It's just fun to discover all that, and then just rediscovering that when all the DLC emblems came out as well, with
Yeah,
with
it was.
characters that I just really wanted to see too, like Hector.
That was the thing. It was kind of like Hector just worked so well with like Diamant, or like there were other people or like, other characters where they kind of came along, and I was like, oh, this one could work really well with like this new, like they were good with this ring, but they might work better with like this bracelet. And yeah, I had a lot of fun like figuring all that out and just getting like all these pairs and getting them in like the sweet spot and stuff like that. So but yeah, I feel bad for the characters who I sort of ended up like ditching this time around. Like in my first playthrough, like Jade was like a real MVP. I feel was like a really strong unit, and in my first couple of like chapters using her this time around, I just wasn't like feeling it as much, and I was like, oh well, maybe she became like a bit more useful like later on, like once I got some of my rings back and stuff like that. But then by the time that happened, I got like the DLC characters, and I decided to use oh gosh, I can't remember her name now. I remember like the Our Universe version of her name, but I can't remember what's Madeline's Xenolog counterpart. I can't remember now.
Oh, I should know this.
She wears blue instead of like the pink, but because she's like,
Wait, no, Madeline is her Xenolog counterpart.
is it?
Marnie
Oh no,
is her
Marnie,
regular
yeah.
name.
Marnie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can we rewind that? Can we like, again? I can't survive without my rewind apparently. But yeah. So Madeline, yeah. I kind of, because like she was like a sort of like a an armored axe unit. I was like, oh well, I want to try her, and but I think Jade was better, because the one thing I found about Madeline is like she had horrible accuracy. I don't know like what that was about. Again, I'm not good enough at Fire Emblem to know what affects accuracy, but like her accuracy was just all the other characters had like 90 something accuracy, and she always had like 75, and I like don't know why her accuracy sucked, but I don't know if that was just like my particular unit, or if she was like lower, maybe she was like a bit lower leveled than everyone as well. But it was really weird actually. I think because I think Madeline was like I didn't find her that great either, kind of thing. And then, but then there was like I think it was like the final battle, or maybe like the penultimate chapter, where she just like really came in clutch, and I was just like, Madeline. I think like I think in the final level, she was like the MVP for that level, and I was like, where did that come from? Like I'd sort of always been a bit like, oh, she's a bit underwhelming, and then she was like MVP of like the final when like the credits rolled, and it was like I was like, oh, she was like the MVP for that level. Oh, good for her. So yeah. But yeah, it was weird the characters who I like didn't sort of use this time, or who I kind of like made room for with like the DLC ones and stuff like that. So, um, but but yeah, it was good. See, that was the thing as well about Engage and its DLC. I liked more. Like this second playthrough was definitely, I feel like, a bit more unique, or I got more out of it than I did say with like my um Three Houses playthrough once I had like the DLC characters. Like I think with like Three Houses, I did like my original playthrough, and then the pandemic happened. So then it was like, well, I got loads of free time, may as well do that Blue Houses playthrough that I was like curious about. And then once I did that, I was like, but what if I did Golden Deer as well? And then so I kind of did those two back to back, but it was the Golden Deer one where I had the DLC. But yeah, I think my like Engage playthrough with once I got the DLC was like much more interesting and unique than um the like Golden Deer playthrough with the DLC. And again, maybe that's also because like there was like the Fells analog, but you did have like the Divine Paralogs as well, whereas did Three Houses didn't like add any extra like levels in your playthrough or anything by having the characters, did it? Like it really did just have the like Cindered Shadows story, which was separate, and then you just got like the characters and like the underground area, and like there's like the sauna or something like that, right, in the school. And I think that was like all you really got out of your extra playthrough. Like there just wasn't a whole lot different about your playthrough really with the DLC compared to like, whereas with Engage, I felt like there was a bit more because you did have like those paralogs, and then you got like the bracelets, which then completely changes up like your gameplay, even if you like aren't then, like if you just did like a divine paralog or two, like your playthrough would be so different just by virtue of having that bracelet for like the rest of the playthrough. Whereas with Three Houses, you could kind of just ignore the new characters and nothing would really be any different, I feel. So that was another point to like Engage as well, I feel, where I don't know. I think overall like the Engage DLC is better is ultimately the point I'm kind of waffling around here. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that's a decently common opinion, I want to say. I think a lot of people really like the Engage DLC. I
Okay,
think
good.
God, it's been ages since I played Three Houses, but I think they had a lot of like cosmetic DLC.
Oh,
Basically,
yes, I think you're right.
like they
Actually,
had
yeah.
like I know they had like I would always put Byleth in like the DLC outfit that they had. So
Oh,
like
right, yeah.
I think it was mostly stuff like that rather than like paralogs, like you say. I think I could be misremembering. It has been like
You did
6 years, I think.
Actually, I say that. One thing is it did give you some like weapons and items, and like both give you like,
Yeah.
some weapons and items and stuff. That was the thing that kind of blew my mind a bit as well. Even though it's pretty dumb that it kind of blew my mind, but I've never really claimed to be clever. So, but like the, but like you got like the two weapons right at the start, so, like the axe and the spear, and I like didn't know what they were, but just I used them. I like gave the spear to Louis, and like it was great having him with that. And and then once I like got the characters, I was like, oh, this is like Nil and Nell's like weapons. Oh, that makes sense now. But yeah, and I like that you got weapons for the Fire Emblem Heroes characters, Alphonse and stuff. Like I like that you got like weapons for them as well. That was cool. Oh, actually, sorry, I did just on my phone, I was like, oh yeah, I did write some things for like I just sort of like wrote some notes just in case I like forgot anything, or if there's or if I somehow struggled to not chatter on like I typically do. But like but I just sort of saw the note that there was a note I put, you know, again, I just sort of jotted things down in my playthrough, but I had like Alfred died after door small opening. But that was when but yeah, that was the thing. There was like a level where yeah, I think what happened was oh yeah, that was like the stupid death where it was like I had him near like a door, and I think my plan was I was gonna like destroy the door on the next turn, but I think like or no, or maybe I destroyed the door, but then like enemies were within reach of the door, and I like didn't realize that. So it's like on the map, like there was like, oh, nothing can touch you, but then I destroyed this door, and it was like, oh, now all the enemies can come through the door that you just smashed, and it was like, oh, and they just all targeted Alfred, and he died, and I was like, oh, I should have waited to destroy that door. Like I think I sort of like ended a turn on destroying the door rather than like beginning the turn opening the door, and that's how he died. But yeah, so like small little mistakes like that where it's like, oh yeah, I should have like waited to open the door once like he had some backup rather than just like letting him open the door to these like 1,000 enemies waiting on the other side of it. But oh well. But yeah.
Yeah, enemies waiting in houses just to jump you is always diabolical.
Yeah. That's the thing as well. That's the thing with just like the rewinding or like starting the chapter again anyway, because it's like with some of these levels, there are like these like I don't know middle of the level surprises or something where it's like oh that like bridge is now destroyed or this or yeah or like a load of enemies come out of this place or whatever, and it's like you can't possibly like know that going in, so it's kind of like if those things like catch you off guard or you've like forgotten them if you're doing like a replay through or whatever, it's just like just rewind or just do it again, like it's fine. You'd have to, I don't know, have be made of very stern, strong stuff to just be like, I'm gonna play this and just let whatever happens happen. Like I don't think I could play that way. Even in a game like Engage, where it gives you characters every 3 like chapters, or like 3 characters every 2 chapters or whatever. But yeah. That actually one thing about having the bracelets, I just sort of saw in my note as well was like in the game, like chapter 11, which is the one where oh spoilers, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you lose all your rings. When you lose all your rings, like in the middle of the game, um, like there's that level where you like have to escape. And I remember that like the first time around, I was like, oh, I've lost all my like rings and da 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 or whatever. But that level was like fine because just loads of my characters had bracelets on and everything. And again, like Diamant was like, you know, again in my original playthrough, it was like, oh no, like Diamant doesn't have Roy anymore. Whereas it's like, go Diamant and Hector, just like destroy every last one of them. So yeah, you know, like it was, it like that level was like very like completely different this time around because it was like oh I still have like a load of very powerful stuff. Like this is fine. Like it's supposed to be this level where you're kind of like robbed of everything and kind of playing very like minimalistically, but like no, it was fine. I had everything. I was gonna say as well actually when
Yeah.
we talked about having the power ups and stuff, like both like I said like oh both games have the power ups. I do remember, forgive me if I told this story like 2 years ago or something, but I do remember in Three Houses, um, one of the things it gives you is like there's like some item it gives you, like a hold item or something, where I think basically like your I can't remember if it was like Byleth only or whether you can give it to like anyone, but I just gave it to Byleth, where it's like regardless of what distance they attack you from, you can counter. So if someone attacks you, even if it's from like really far away, you can counter. And I remember there was like some map, and I can't remember what it was, but like part of the gimmick of the level is like the main boss who you have to defeat is like some, you know, sort of dark mage, and they can basically fire at you from like the middle of the map, and they can target you from anywhere. And they like targeted like me, Byleth, and but I had that item attached, and so they like targeted me from a bajillion miles away. But because I had this like you can counter from anywhere, I like countered them and KO'd them, and the battle and the chapter was over in one turn.
That's
Like
good.
it's supposed to be this whole thing where you like loop round to the you know like concentric circle into like the middle or something like that. But it was just like they just attacked me, I countered, KO'd them in one hit, and it's like, ah, oh, you got me. Ah, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the level. Okay, cool. um, But yeah, I couldn't believe that. But yeah, that was a little bit too OP. As good as the bracelets are, there was nothing. I didn't have any moments as like OP ridiculous as like beating a level in like one chapter because you could counter from anywhere on the map.
Yeah, Fire Emblem can be so silly with some of those items that are kind of just OP. But those are like after end game or new game plus items that are kind of just there just to break the game and be fun. Yeah, I definitely know some people who wanted to not use any of the DLC bracelets until after that chapter, where you lose them all. I have trauma from that for multiple reasons. One, because you just lose everything and you have to like adapt to that in hard mode. And the other
Yes.
one because I had to guide Misty through that chapter for one EmblemCon, and I realized that it wasn't what it all seemed. But no, that was a fun panel. We
If you don't mind me asking, well, in terms of your engage playthroughs, do you recall what you ended up doing with your pact ring? There were some people in
Yes.
the chat that were wondering.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up. Would anyone? Okay, so in my first playthrough, so like 2 years ago, I probably mentioned this briefly, but I went with Yunaka because I just really liked her and she was just really fun and everything.
Yep.
So I really liked her. But would
Nice
anyone
pick.
like to? Would anyone like to guess who I then went with this
Ooh.
time? Okay, like who would like someone's backup choice be if they picked Yunaka? Like, if anyone wants to like
Who's
sleuth
budget Yunaka?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a shot in the dark and say maybe like
Um,
Tamara just for fun, or maybe Saline.
Ooh, Tamara's.
I'm gonna say Merrin is my guess.
Oh, because I went on about the Erica thing.
Not
just 'cause
just
she's
that,
like
but because she's like, yeah, because she's like quirky, but also kind of like cool in like kind of appears cool on like the surface, but is just kind of a bit quirky, which I think is also Yunaka to an extent.
Oh yeah, Yunaka's very quirky.
I don't know if there are any guesses in chat. I think I should have had the Twitch up so I could actually read chat. I do apologize. But
That's
no,
all right.
so
You're good. I'm keeping track of it. So
I have fooled you all, muhaha, because I actually didn't go with anyone this time, which is the funny thing. I kind of originally I kind of had an idea of what I thought, but then because I just didn't do as much of the social stuff this time, I only got to like sort of A rank with like one person this time. And I kind of thought like, oh well, maybe if I get to A rank with someone, I'll be sorry. There's like third Xenoblade reference, and now really feeling it. But I just kind of like wasn't sort of thing, and so I didn't want to like. I know this sounds really weird, but I didn't want to kind of like force a marriage just to like see a cutscene that I could ultimately just look up on YouTube if I was curious, kind of thing. So I didn't. I thought, but I will say the one I thought I was gonna go with is in my first playthrough as well. I really like Ivy. And so I kind of thought like, oh, this would be like the Ivy playthrough, but then yeah, I just didn't. Didn't end up. I didn't end up like sort of getting my rank up with her very much and stuff. And then the only one I did was Saline, who would also have been a good choice. I do really like Saline; like she's a load of fun. But yeah, I don't know. But actually, I'll just like Oka. I'll just sort of say about this, but one of the things I like about Ivy and that I think is really good about Reba's performance and stuff. I need to talk to Reba about this someday. But I one of the things I quite like about Ivy is I think she's quite a sort of British coded character. I know that sounds really weird, but hopefully,
interesting.
because she's like it's that thing where she sort of has a load of emotions and a lot of stuff going on, but it's very kind of like under the surface, right? Like it's kind of like she kind of like holds it together. There's like a lot going on. She's always kind of like holding back, and I feel like it's just like a very like English thing where you just kind of like you're not like too expressive, you're not too big in any kind of direction, kind of thing, and
kind of reserved, not over the top.
Yeah.
Which ties into like her being royalty and stuff, but that's also a very British.
That's royal. That's the thing. A lot of royalty is very kind of. again, sort of British coded in a way.
Oh yeah.
But, again, I mean,
Definitely.
Saileen's a very British coded character, but that's kind of the thing
With a
about,
T.
but like that's kind of the thing about Solm though, because like like sort of part of the point of Solm is
Mm.
like they do everything really differently and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And so they're all like very different, and you know they go camping and sing about meat and all this kind of stuff. So but yeah, and they put their rings in drawers. Um, I love that bit in the game where they're like, where'd I put the ring again? Was it in the drawer? No.
The doodah.
Go find it, Fagado. And they're like, you know, and Alfred and Diamant are there, just like, we have like a whole a room with like a guard for hour one. And I love that. I love that so much. Because that's the thing as well. Like she's like the Queen of Solm is like so cool. She's probably like the best like queen or king of like the four regions. But then and she's like, oh my gosh, she's so cool and she's so badass and all this kind of stuff. But then it's just like, oh yeah, well, where do we put the ring again? And it's just, and like that's like the one thing where it's like, wait, what? Compared to like everyone else. I love that. Again, this is what I love about Fire Emblem. The characters are just so good. There's just so much like depth and nuance to them, and I mean, this is one of the things I think that's impressive about like Three Houses, where like I think with like every character in Three Houses, you kind of think you have them pegged. Like you're like, oh, okay, this is like, I don't know, this is like the Lothario character, and this is the meathead character, and this is the smart character, and this is the whatever. But then there's just always like so much more to them, and I used to always find that like so impressive, both in like the writing and in the performances and everything. And Engage is like you know, no different in that regard either. Like they just, and again, they give you so many characters every couple of chapters, but like they're all so good, and I just feel really bad that like a bunch of them I have like never gotten to know. Like, yes, I always got to have like Merrin on my team, but I never had Panette, to the point where it's like her name is Panette, right? Or am I confusing her with Brunette? Brunette.
Yeah.
Is he Brunet? The thing, I don't even know, like the chef guy. Like, I'm sure you're great, chef guy, but like I've never gotten to use you because you come along in the game too late. But although actually, quick funny story about like characters and using them and stuff like that. One character I did use more in my second playthrough for a really stupid but funny reason. Although now I'm forgetting his name. Oh no, wait, no, I remember his name. Sorry, I was confusing with someone else. But so this is like a really funny reason. In my first playthrough, I did not use Vander like at all. Like I used him for like the first like mission or two, but like very sparingly. And then I like didn't use him, and I'll explain the really stupid reason why in a second. But in this playthrough, I did get to use him for a bit. I used him to about like the mid game, and then again, like you just inundated with like so many good characters, and I like used other people. But at least I got to like use him more this time and stuff. But the really stupid reason I didn't, and I guess like spoilers for a bunch of Fire Emblem games here. Like, oh no, like I'm gonna spoil a load of Fire Emblem stuff to Fire Emblem fans who already know this. But like, there are a bunch of Fire Emblem games where there's some kind of like mentor like character where they like die really early on, and like even where you get to use them a bit, but then they die. And so when I used Vander in my original playthrough, I noticed that like he didn't get like barely any experience. And I think the answer is just that he's like a higher like class of character, right, than all the others. Like all the others are kind of like base class, but he's like already like advanced class or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's why he doesn't gain much experience, because he's basically almost like level 20 already, or something, you know, whatever kind of thing. Or like level 10 or something like that.
He's the Jagan.
But
it's like a common trope in the series.
Yeah.
So, but I thought I thought he was gonna be the other JE character, like a Geralt type character or something. Where
Wifey.
Or something where like
It's like the trope that they call it.
Yeah. But so I thought like it was gonna be that. I was like, oh, he doesn't gain much experience. He's like the older mentorish kind of like type guy, old guard kind of guy. Oh, he's gonna die. And so I just didn't use him because I was like, there's no point in like giving experience to someone. Like again, it's like I'm beating these enemies and I'm getting like 10 experience points, where like this other character, if I'd KO'd them, they would have like got a whole level up. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like level up the characters who need the experience because like this guy's gonna die, and then he never died. And I was like, oh, Vander, I'm so sorry.
So basically, you're thinking along the lines of like, okay, Fire Emblem, this guy looks like he could be a dad. We know the dads always die.
Yes.
I'm not going to use him because there's no point because he will die. Then it's like, wait, he's not even a dad and he didn't die? Whoa.
Yeah, it's just so... Can I just ask, actually, I'm probably going to answer my own question here, but when... Well, actually, no, maybe not, because you all talked about how you keep your characters alive, but if you do a permadeath playthrough and, like, you lose a character, are there some characters where just they don't actually die, they just do the sort of like...
Exactly.
Some do because it's they're important to the story. If they're really central to the story, they will just be like, oh, they were wounded and had to retreat to heal their wounds. They won't come back, but they'll be like they'll still be in the story, but not in the battle.
Yeah. Because that's basically what I kind of like figured out this time. Because I was like watching these cutscenes again. You know, you see like Alfred and Diamond and stuff, and I was like, because that's the thing. I saw the funny cutscene with the like, we have a whole room for this ring, and I was like, yeah, if I had let Alfred die when I like bashed open that door with him, it's like he wouldn't be here to do this cutscene. But I was like, this cutscene like doesn't work without him. So it was like sure, and I kind of noticed when I did have like the accidental deaths, like there was like one character where it really was like I'm dead, I'm dying, I'm gone, and then another where it's just like I
must retreat,
and then and then
like the Peter Griffin meme with the
so yeah, you got the reference. But yeah, so I kind of like figured that, but yeah, I always just I kind of always wondered that about like did like the cutscenes change or anything? Like sometimes these characters say things that feel kind of important, but yeah, I guess. But then that feels like a bit of a cop out, really, in a way. Like obviously, it's like sad that you can't use them, but it's sort of weird that it's like, oh, they don't actually like die though. They're just sort of like, oh, I just can't fight anymore, which I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it's sort of I always thought like part of the charm isn't the word, but like charm of permadeath was just that like you really would have like a complete absence of them from like that point forward, whereas if like they're important, they're not. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's I don't know. Like I don't know. I thought maybe it was just I don't know, just the idea of like the player character surrounded by no one just seemed kind of as ridiculous as it sounds. Like that's kind of what I envisioned in my head.
Yeah, that's kind of like when you start to pull back the curtain and see how the inner workings of the game is. It's like characters that join your party for the first time, like they'll be introduced in that chapter, for example, and they'll be in a cutscene. But after that, it's like, oh, they're not really plot relevant anymore. And unless they're like a royal and engaged, for example, it's like, yeah, if they get wounded in battle, a leader will be like, oh, you need to retreat. We can't let you die. And then they'll just kind of retreat and kind of be too wounded to fight for the rest of the game. And yeah, that's been something I've noticed ever since like the first Fire Emblem we ever got in the West, which is like someone like Marcus, for example, like your paladin. He's always a kind of mentor to Elowood, and he shows up in a bunch of chapters. But then, like, if he gets wounded in battle, he won't actually die. He'll just kind of back away and still be there to be part of these cutscenes. Because I imagine it would be way too much like coding and all this other technical stuff to arrange for it. So like all these stipulations of this character's alive, but this one's dead, or this one is dead now, but these two are alive. But yeah, it's just kind of their way of working around that.
I don't know. Like somehow we're also talking about Star Fox again now, but like in like Star Fox 64, aka Lilac Wars, like I'm sort of they do have like I remember like when you in like Venom 2, and you know it's like I'll go alone from here, and you know and it's like I think like the default is Slippy where it's like Fox kind of thing, but then like if Slippy's not there, like Peppy will say it, and if Peppy's also not there, Falco will say it, and then if it's just Fox, like I don't know, he says something else or whatever. But I guess in my head I kind of thought like maybe they would like have another character kind of step in for certain cutscenes or something. Like they would do something like that where they would kind of have. But again, yeah, like some of the stuff in the story was just so specific though. Like you can't have like I don't know, Alfred say something about like Firene, but like, yeah, but you could always have like Saline or something like that. But I guess it just creates a lot of extra work, and I don't know,
Yeah,
and things like that, and extra like record, from like extra recording to like extra programming to extra everything, I guess. But
there are some interesting ones, like I think in Path of Radiance, where supports will change depending on which characters are alive or not alive when they have a certain ranked conversation together. Like
that's cool.
Yeah, they don't really do that very often now, but I remember that was a thing, at least back then, a little more common.
Probably because of the lack of the voice acting means that they wouldn't have to like re-record stuff and everything.
Yeah, because I was saying,
sprites.
I was saying before, like everyone else came along, that just sort of since I beat Engage, in like the week or so it's been since I like beat Engage, I've been playing Hades for the first time, and obviously, kind of like one of the sort of impressive things about that is just like the sort of massive subtle variations in dialogue, like for a game that you play like again and 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 again. I'm kind of impressed at how um it just kind of, I don't know, there hasn't been a whole lot of like repetition, or where they just kind of like, like, oh, hey, it's you again, or something like that. Like, and it kind of like does have things where it kind of ignore, like, there's just all these different, like, oh, I see you've met so and so, or oh, you've fought so and so, or you've already got a power up from so and so. Like, there are just all these kind of little things like that. So I don't know, maybe someday they could do that with some of the supports or cutscenes in Fire Emblem. Again, I do think that you could have had some stuff with like Alfred where you like replaced it with like Saline or something like that, because I kind of did notice that, yeah, like you were sort of saying, Daniel, that yeah, like there were just sort of some characters who start to get pushed to the back a bit, and like it did just start to become a lot of like, it was like Alfred, Diamond, Ivy, and Tamara like were kind of the ones there, and then you get like spoilers, 5 4 3 2 1, Vale and Mauvrier and stuff like that as well. Like to like they kind of, perhaps, but even like Mauvrier sort of becomes, he's kind of there for like a chapter or two maybe, and then kind of gets like pushed aside a bit as well. But yeah, it's usually like Vale and like the sort of elder four royal siblings kind of thing, but then like the junior ones kind of get pushed aside, in at least in terms of like the main cutscenes. So, but like again, yeah, you could have had something where like the junior one was kind of there or something, like Alchrist and Fagado and stuff like that. I don't know, but again, maybe it's just like a lot of effort for I don't know, less likely scenarios or something like that. I don't know, but maybe it'll be a thing in Fortune's Weave if we get some information about it.
We definitely will.
We're still waiting on that like FE4 remake eventually,
I feel like that game is done. It's been sitting there. They're waiting for just the right time. Just like with Engage. Engage was done for quite a while.
Yeah,
and
Engage
that's why
was like
the
finished
DLC...
for quite a while, and then it was dropped later on.
And that's why
like the DLC came out. Sorry, I was probably completing a sentence there for you, but like the DLC all came out like super soon afterwards, and like very quickly, right? Because like they had it done, but just like all of it they had done, but like that was kind of basically the scenario, right? That like it had been done for a while, and like even the DLC was done for a while, and then by the time they sort of released it, it was just kind of like, and we're releasing the DLC as well.
Yeah, the DLC was like really quick after. It was like almost like
it's like 2 months or so, right? 2 or 3 months, yeah. Like,
well, it felt like a few weeks to me, but
yeah, they didn't really have any reason to hold it back, so they put out the waves really quickly, for like, at least compared to when, for example, Three Houses had the Cindered Shadows. Like, this one was way quicker, as far as like 4 waves were already out within the span of a couple of months. Yeah, it's crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same deal with Genealogy somewhere. But I think they just decided that Fortune's Weave would be the one to come out first. So
they're like,
we're gonna
I think the plan
here.
is like they're gonna like use Fortune's Weave. It's like, okay, this is linked to Three Houses. Three Houses made us a ton of money. We're gonna make a ton of money first. Then if Genealogy remake crashes and fails, we're still good. We still have Fortune's Weave money.
I'm happy at least because at least this is means they're probably taking more time with that game. It's not going to be a
Yes.
Switch 1 title. It'll be dedicated to Switch 2, so it's going to look
Yeah.
nicer. Probably have more in it. Who knows?
Mouse controls.
That
In
too.
terms of speaking of like genealogy remakes and like older games, is there any older games that you haven't played that are like on your like next on your to-do list? Because I know you and I were talking about like some of the older ones because I'm working on
Yeah.
FE3 right now, so I was like, what are you looking at in terms of the older games? What haven't you played?
Well, that's the thing. So, referring back to being a not real Fire Emblem fan who only played after like Awakening, that's the thing. I have only played 3DS onwards. The funny thing is, no, sorry, no, wait, yeah, 3DS onwards, yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, I do actually have like because I was part of the 3DS Ambassador program, so I do technically own a copy of Sacred Stones, but like I want to play with like save states and stuff. I don't want to I don't want Erica to die. I don't know. It's like, well, no, like you can't play without her. But still, you know. But like, if I play an old one, I want to play it with like save states. I do like obviously want to oh gosh, I'm so afraid of saying the wrong one here. I'm always afraid I'm going to say Binding Blade when I mean Blazing Blade. But I obviously do want to play Blazing Blade because it's like Kent.
Yep.
And that will be when I get that Nintendo Online subscription, the expansion pack one, because I've never had the expansion pack subscription, but someday I will get it, and when I do, that will be very early on my to-do list. Like I might, play some like N64 thing for like nostalgic reasons or something. I might do like an Ocarina of Time playthrough or whatever. But then after that, I will, absolutely that will be, like I will play that. I will play Sacred Stones, and then if anything else ever comes along, like oh yeah, because a GameCube, right? Like Ike. So
Yeah.
like that I can play as well. Ooh, that's exciting. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. The
those
end.
three,
So
those three I'll definitely, those three I'll like definitely play.
You do have a couple Tellius fans in this chat room, so like, or
Mhm.
more than a few. You'll have to let us know what you think, because like, I know for me, I think all three of us, yeah, me,
Yeah,
Daniel, and Akka are all like, Tellius is the best.
yeah.
I've never touched it. I don't know.
What's that?
Okay,
The
Mr. Alencia
I
fan.
think I think the the NSO has been such a wonderful thing for a lot of people to get introduced to these older titles because
The price
it's
of
just it's hard to get a hold of. Like if I could, I will let you borrow my physical copies of these games, but then again, there wouldn't have be any save states, so that maybe that would make it harder.
Yeah. Well, no, that's
But
the thing because you do have the save states and the rewind and everything. Like that's
mhm.
really nice as well. So, um, again, like sort of game preservation or making things accessible is definitely that's sort of why like I know everyone's sort of memeing on like Star Fox 64 being like remade again or whatever, but it's like but it is like the best selling, most popular, like best one, and so it's like look, the Switch is popular, the Switch 2 has been popular, like make this game that's kind of easier to make, and then hopefully, and maybe this is like copium here, but like they'll have the assets and the models and everything kind of made, and then they can kind of make a new one in a few years. Hopefully, if this one does well, they can kind of do like a Tears of the Kingdom is not best example because it took like 5 or 6 years or whatever. But like, but again, like Tears of the Kingdom, it sort of piggybacked off of Breath of the Wild, and you had this sort of new game. And so if they can do it with like Star Fox, that's really cool. And but again, it sort of means that people get to, for people who don't say have the expansion pack, they can kind of have a way to experience this game without needing to like have that subscription or whatever. So whatever kind of like allows people to like replay these games, whether it is like NSO or you do a Paper Mario Thousand Year Door and remake it. Like, I mean, again, I hope Thousand Year Door gets put onto like NSO someday, so that if people don't want to buy the game, they can play it with a subscription. But like, if it gets people playing these games and then they become fans of other ones or something, then that's what I'm all about because yeah, because I didn't get to play these games. Like I didn't really. The Game Boy Advance for me was basically just like a Pokemon and Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga machine. So like I
Mm-hmm.
never like got to like really play anything much on it. But like maybe I could have got into like Fire Emblem on the DS or something, but I don't really remember ever seeing it around. Again, Awakening's kind of the one where I actually like kind of knew it existed and knew it was available. Like I don't ever remember seeing like a Fire Emblem for like Game Boy Advance or something like on a store shelf, or I mean maybe I did used to get like Nintendo magazines at the time, so like maybe
Hmm.
one was like reviewed and I just forgot I saw it, but I just didn't really have much aware. Like I knew about Fire Emblem because of Smash Bros, but I just didn't really know like any Fire Emblem games are really available to me until the 3DS. So that's kind of why I like never played them. And although you can like play on like emulators and stuff, I always like playing on like authentic sort of real consoles and stuff. Even if they are like ports, I like playing like sort of authentic ports or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
so I just always kind of it's why I like things like Nintendo, the Nintendo Online things, because yeah, they just allow a lot of people to play things that they've never got to before. So, but yeah, sorry, long way around. Sorry, we kind of got very sidetracked there, and by we I mean me. But yeah, like those three games, like the ones that basically are on NSO, are like the three that are three like old ones that I definitely would play, and then other ones. I mean, again, if they had like releases on consoles and stuff on like Nintendo Switch, like I would play them. But otherwise, yeah, I will just be holding out for like remakes of games and stuff like that. But guys, what do you think? This is my question for you. What sort of remakes do you actually think might come to like Nintendo consoles in the next few years from Fire Emblem? Like, do you? Because I think I know everyone sort of wants like the old ones that were like only ever in Japan and stuff like that. But I do wonder if like we might get like 3D, like I wonder if we might get like 3DS ones. So if we say get like um the sort of Fates trilogy, but like packed into one game, because that's kind of because that would be kind of a little bit like Three Housesy in a bit. Like, oh, here's this one game, but it's got these like multiple branches. You can like stay with your family, or you can switch families, or you can choose neither family. Like they could kind of in some ways like piggyback off of the Three Houses formula with that if they sort of remade it. And because it's like sort of, I don't know, a remake, it might not be as hard to redo or something, or they could maybe reuse some of the cutscenes or something. I don't know, but whereas if you're like remaking like a SNES game, like you kind of would have to probably build more from the ground up with something like that. Whereas with a 3DS game, you probably have a little bit more to work with. I don't know, but that's just my sort of hypothesis. But it wouldn't surprise me if we got like a Fates, um, if we had some kind of like Fates sort of because that was like quite popular. I feel I don't know, but
Well, I guess I do imagine like if they do an older title, the one I would think about is still Genealogy of the Holy War.
Mm-hmm.
I would like it if they kept the sprite art style, but there's still like very beautiful hand drawn portraits for the art instead. Like that kind of contrast between the
right,
two would very much be something interesting to see the contrast of. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's hard to say if that would be a faster one to make, a sprite art still takes so much time to do, like
yeah,
the levels of sprite, even for genealogy, like that kind of level of sprite art was a lot to do for the hardware. But there's definitely like the whole kind of people. Some people tell you like, oh, the HD 2D style would look really cool with Fire Emblem. Like we haven't had something like that before. It'll probably look something along the lines of like Triangle Strategy if anyone's played that before.
right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. That still seems like the main one to me. The one after that probably would be the maybe Roy's game, because we still all these
Oh
years later,
yeah.
Roy still does not have any of his official games translated in English.
That's interesting. Yeah. The thing, because I don't really know what like their thinking would be. On the one hand, I sort of wonder if, because the 3DS one's kind of like, I don't know, sort of have that established. They like sold pretty well or kind of helped popularize the series or whatever. So that's sort of one of the reasons why I wonder if they might tap into that well or something. If they might tap into like 3DS, a bit of like a 3DS retreading. Or will they? That's the thing. Or will they go more old school and bring things that have like never existed before? I don't know. It's interesting, but I think it's cool though because I mean I think that they could kind of do like new game, old game, new game, old game. Like they could basically just sort of release like 2 or 3 games on like every system, and you could get like one game and 1 or 2 remakes like per console basically, and they could do that for quite a long time, and that'd be quite a sustainable thing to do. I would think, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the other clear answer is the Blazing Blade. So we can get Beau Bridgland to do the voice of Kent for a whole game.
that'd be
That's
fun.
the that's the cool thing is like when you look at a game like Fire Emblem Heroes, all these characters for the games we're talking about, most of the cast have a voice already. Like we know what they sound
Yeah,
like, and I imagine Nintendo would want to transfer that over because they're very consistent. Like every character,
Hmm.
essentially every character with the voice assigned to them in Heroes was in Engage, and so we
yeah,
kind of have a feeling of
that
what
was
they would sound like. Yeah,
that was like the really wild thing. Like they really did just kind of get everyone who
yeah,
they've
it's
been using
crazy.
for a while. Like yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't
it,
complain if you were to voice Kent in like an FE7 remake. I'd like that.
oh well, thank you. That's really sweet. I mean, again, I know I've said this before, but again, this is I don't know. It's like sort of chatting with a voice actor. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I should talk about voice acting. But I have said this before, but and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, and I'm not just saying it because like I love Fire Emblem or anything like that. But like my Fire Emblem Heroes session was one of the funnest, nicest, and just best VO sessions I've had since I moved here. Like I'm coming up on like 8 years since I moved here, but that is still just such a highlight for me. It was so much fun. Um, it was just such a
Hmm.
blast. It was such like a creatively fulfilling. I know sort of like, people could think, well, wasn't it just like not a whole lot of lines like for a mobile game? Like how big a deal can that be? But like it was like so like collaborative and
Mhm.
everything. Like I just love like collaborative sessions where like you're kind of talking with the director and you're backing and forthing and talking about ideas and things, and it's just stuff like that. And it's just, again, I never really know how much you're allowed to talk about sort of behind the scenes on sessions, so I won't get too deep into it just in case. But like, it
Hmm,
was
yeah.
just sort of, it was just such a nice, again, like creatively fulfilling session. There wasn't, again, there's some projects and things you can work on where there's a bit of a like, hey, we've got to like speed through this, da 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 or whatever. But it
Mhm.
was like, it was just sort of something where like we were able to sort of take our time and do it. And so I absolutely loved working on that. And it's like, so yeah, I mean, I would very happily come back as Kent, like because of that and everything. It's funny actually because I was directed by Caitlin Galt, and I actually saw her um a few months ago, I guess months ago now. But it was one of those things where like she like directed like remotely for that session and stuff, so we didn't actually like physically see each other. So when I saw her a few months ago, I was with like a friend, and she like said hi to the friend or whatever, and I was kind of like all mentally prepped to kind of like introduce myself. I go, "Oh hi, I'm Beau. We like worked together a few years ago, or whatever." And she was just like, "Beau, hi," or whatever. And I was like, "Wait, you know me?" And then I'm like hugging
You
her and
remember
whatever. And
me?
it was just like she was like so nice and amazing. Like she was like so great and nice and amazing in the session, and then she was so great and nice in real life as well. But I just was not expecting her to like know or remember me. Again, maybe it's part of that like British sense of like self-deprecation or whatever, where I just assume that everyone forgets my existence as soon as I'm out of their eyesight or something. But
Who could
uh,
forget? Who could forget Beau? I wouldn't.
Right?
No, I don't think anyone would be able to. No, it's so fun because like earlier, like I mean, every year we have Christian Lamont, and I know he does voice direction within Fire Emblem games as well, and he talks about some of the experiences that they've had in the booths for like games like Engage or other situations, and it always feels
right,
like it's such a positive,
Mhm.
collaborative
yeah,
scenario, because like especially for a game like Three Houses, where we were talking about how everyone just seemed to really gel and fit in the roles so well that
Yes.
it's still something that people still talk about. Like part of those characters' identities really are the voice actors that are behind them and doing the delivery and giving them all this character. So, no, I totally get it.
Like the studio as well that's like done a load of Fire Emblem stuff, Cup of Tea, like they're a wonderful studio. One of the new things since like last time I was here is I then worked with them again on like Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, and
Hmm.
so that was like really fun. And in my head, because it's, you know, sort of again it is helpful being a gamer when you work on games, because you kind of sometimes they can sort of say, oh, this is the thing where like when you get a power up and then this happens, and you're like, oh, I know, got it, kind of thing, because you know what that sounds like in a game. You know, like they'll sort of give you some
Hmm.
description of a thing where it's like hard to sort of put words to what it is, but like you just as a gamer know the exact thing they're talking about. Um, and but you know, that game kind of was like a game with like sort of like support conversations and stuff like that. Although the funny thing was, because I had multiple directors on that project, and I actually got to work with Patrick Seitz a bit, which is really cool. He was fantastic.
Hmm.
But I remember when we sort of begun doing the support conversation stuff, I was thinking like Fire Emblem. So I was like, oh, okay, so is this kind of like the, you know, kind of like CBA, and then there's like the S. But in that game, in Rune Factory, it's like, no, you have like a whole load of friendship stuff. So I don't know, there's like, you know, FEDCBA, and
Oh
then you
wow.
have like ZYXWVU, blah blah blah,
Go
for
through the
the
whole accent.
romantic side. And I was like, so when that kind of happened, because as well, I didn't know how much recording there'd be for that project. Like I often assume that like a lot of, you know, if I'm like booked for a project, I'm often assume like you know, a lot of sessions are like one and done. Um, so you know, when I sort of worked on that, and I was kind of like, oh, like 4 hours, nice. Oh, this might be like quite long. And then, you know, and then it's like, oh, we'll get this next session. I'm like, oh, next session there's gonna be more. Like, yes, brilliant, because I was just having so much fun, but I had like no idea how much it was gonna be. It was like, oh yeah, no, like the supports in this game are like huge, and they're even like bigger than like the Fire Emblem ones. Actually, quick
Wow.
question for the both of you.
Hmm.
Do you prefer, unless Okka's still here, I can't see Okka anymore, but with like the supports, do you prefer the sort of longer Three Houses style of things, or do you actually prefer some of the brevity of Engage? Because although I didn't do the support stuff as much this time for Engage, and because I was sort of kind of playing through a bit more speedily, and or a lot more speedily this time, I kind of do appreciate the brevity of the supports in Engage. Like you still get like a story, you still get a nice little through line with the characters, but like, but it doesn't like faff about too much or anything. Like it does kind of get to the point, and you're not, because I remember like with Three Houses having like play sessions where like I wouldn't really do any actual like quote unquote Fire Emblem. Like I would, you know, walk around the castle and like give everyone a gift, and then I'd unlock a bunch of support conversations, and then I'd
Y-
have to sit and watch all these support
Yeah.
conversations.
I
And I'd maybe do like one training battle, but basically like I would do something like a 1 to 2 hour play session where it's just kind of like doing castle stuff and ticking the calendar until you actually get to like a story chapter, and like um that's all like I did for a play session. Whereas again, one of the nice things about Engage is like every time I played it, I would like do an actual like level chapter, and I just really appreciate that, like actually getting to like do some Fire Emblem. And I know a lot of the people who like Three Houses like it for the social stuff, so it's kind of like I might be kind of in the minority here, but you know, but Engage, like you still get like really good like little stories and stuff, like, oh, Saline and Fogado, how do they get along? And like, oh, they're kind of like, you know, I don't know, sort of like dancing about and keeping their cards close to the chest or whatever, but you get like a nice little story with
Mhm.
them established, and like how they kind of feel about their siblings and stuff. You know, I don't feel like I was like shortchanged on like their kind of relationship with each other across like their C, their B, and their A supports or anything. Whereas with, you know, Three Houses, it's a bit like, okay, like Hilda and Setith are writing a novel together, and okay, this is several minutes, and
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
just
I
the
Yeah.
B or whatever. And I don't
I
know, like it's just a bit long sometimes. So
mhm.
I don't know.
I feel like when it comes to
Yeah.
engage, it's more like traditional FE style, where it's like they have a conversation. It's like 20 seconds. That is it. It's like flip page, done. Like 5 seconds, short, quick, to the point. Move on to the gameplay. Three Houses kind of like expanded. It was like, hey, what if everyone had like a 5 minute conversation, and you got to like
Yes.
it's more in depth. It's not as direct to the point.
Yeah.
So like me personally, I'm a big fan of the direct to the point because I got overloaded with Three Houses in terms of like support conversations, right? Because it's like there's so freaking many. It's like, oh,
I
every chapter it's like, okay, let's spend an
yeah.
hour doing supports. I'm like,
I
okay, I like to hear
Yeah.
these, but
Three.
calm down, children.
I think if
Yeah.
you had like
Three.
a Xenoblade situation where you have like a party of like 5 or 6 characters,
Hmm.
you can do that. But when you have like 20 people
Yeah, it's a
and
bit
each of
much.
them has like 8 pairing, like each of them has like 8 pairings, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, having like the 5 minute. Sorry, Daniel. I know I kind of half cut you off there. I hope you've remembered your point. But like, but yeah, but it's just too many. So I think it kind of maybe just also depends on like how many characters there are in the game. But yeah, with
Hmm.
Engage again, it's just kind of like, hi, I am another prince, and here are my 2 people who protect me. I forget the word they use for that, but
Retainers, yeah.
retainers. Thank you. But yeah, like, and here are my retainers, and then it's like, oh, and here's also like Amber, who you did not use in either of your playthroughs, um, or whatever, and then like, oh, oh, and also Diamond has this knight friend named Jade or whatever, and it's just like, oh, okay, and they all have supports with each other. It's like, oh, okay. So I do appreciate the brevity there. But sorry, Daniel, go.
Three Houses really was a game that took into account like its entire world building. Like it took it
Hmm.
Mm,
very seriously. There's so much about the world that's happened before the game, that happened with different countries and whatnot. It's very
yeah,
rich that you can like look at more in the library, and that kind of build off of the world happens and it reflects in its support conversations.
Yeah.
And
yes,
those ones tend to be so long. I think that's part of the reason why some people were kind of disappointed with Engage was that it wasn't Three Houses 2 in their mind because as you mentioned earlier, I feel like I would spend some sessions where I'm only in Garrick Mach running around,
Yep.
finding lost items, giving them to characters,
yep,
building new
yep,
relationships, having food
yep,
with them, and then having
yes,
way too many conversations with them to the point where it's like I haven't even really gotten to play anything and it's been an hour.
Yeah, like I remember
Whereas
back when
Fire Emblem Engage would have like just the Somnial. Like the Somnial really just kind of condensed everything to where it's like, oh, it's all within reach. There's some conversations I had, you can like give things to one another, but it also added to like the brevity and being able to go quickly from one place to another where like even though those conversations can be really short and sweet, like all the C ranks are pretty short and brief, but some of the ones later on, they still have a lot of depth to them and a lot
Mhm.
of care put into their conversations. Like the one I think I brought up last year with Rochelle was how if you get to A rank with, I think it's A rank with Saline and Alchrist, they talk about
Oh
how
yes, the brothers and their siblings, and they're worried about like sort of protecting them, and if they die, and yeah, like
then they
their like CBA is like really interesting, and where they sort of and they kind of vow to like protect each other and stuff, right?
yeah, because they're scared of the responsibility of if
Mm,
they die, like, oh, now I have to bear all this instead, and obviously just the fact that they don't want to lose their sibling in the first place. Like, there's a lot of depth to it, but people kind of just took like the early ranks and just wrote it off as like, oh, they didn't really care too much. They wanted to just be one and done. When in fact, it is a very much a lot like the original games that had support conversations. Those weren't very long, but you still got to get some character out of it
Mhm.
each time.
Yeah, like I
yeah.
remember back when like Three Houses came out, like there was just like support, like an entire stream dedicated to supports, and I'm like, that's nice and all. Like it got to the point where some streamers just were like, okay, we're just gonna do the supports off screen because we need to get to the gameplay. And this is the
I
first Fire Emblem game to ever have this problem. Like
I I,
it was
I
getting
kind of
bad.
wish you could like um sort of get like the benefits of the rank up, and then the cutscene was just something you could kind of enjoy sort of more separately or something. And I'm sure
Mhm.
there's probably like some way where it's like, oh, you could just like skip all the text and then you can like go back and watch it in your log. But it's like, but I don't know. Like I know this sort of sounds weird, but it's like no. But if I if I like sort of I don't know, if I have to like skip through a cutscene to like get the points, I kind of don't want to do that. Like I'd rather just have a way of like being able to get the like, okay, you're up to a higher rank, you now get benefits from like standing next to this person like on an adjacent tile, whatever. Like I kind of want that benefit immediately if I don't have time to watch. Like I want the support conversations to just be a thing that I could kind of, like I do want to see them, but I kind of want to be able to do them on my own time. But I don't want to have to like memorize, oh, which ones have I watched, or oh, was this one I skipped through, or was this one I didn't skip through, or whatever. I don't know. But if they had some kind of system like that, maybe that would be helpful. But
yeah, I feel like the GBA style kind of system, or like the anywhere from GBA to like Tellius system might be more your style, because there's only like so many support conversations you can actually do. So
right.
It's like, hey, you got CBAS, and then you can only get like CBA for like this when it comes to GBA ones, I think, and then like that's it. You can get
those
you
games.
have a limit of how many support
Those
conversations you can actually do, and then you're just cut off, which I think is a lot. It's a different system, but I feel like that might be more to your style, because it's like, okay, I get to see what these characters are about. I see what these characters are about, and they're good. So you don't get like tons of conversations. It happens like a couple supports like every few chapters. It's a lot more spaced
that
out.
really has its like good its benefits and it really has its good and bad points, because
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
people really want to be able to see all the conversations they can, but they're only limited to 5 per playthrough.
Yeah,
for
5.
games earlier than Awakening was the one that you were just starting to allow you to just do as many as you want if you were to unlock them. But
Yeah,
no,
but Tilman was
honestly,
like a set limit.
I think you would, Bo. I think you would really like Path of Radiance because of
Yeah.
the way that they structure certain things. Because mostly because of the base. So the way that the base works in Path of Radiance, like the flow of the chapters is like you start the chapter, you get some story, and then after some of the story, you go to your base, which is kind of like your preparation screen, except it's
Right.
like it's a lot more chill. You the thing at the base is like you can equip weapons, you can organize everything, you can have support conversations if there's any available, and then every chapter has like its own separate base conversations, and like they're kind of like support conversations, but they happen within the story itself. And
Okay.
it's like I can talk to different characters about what's relevant right now. Maybe he'll talk to somebody who just joined the army, and there's like different stars that tell that the stars tell you like what the conversation kind of entails. Where it's like if it's 3 stars, then you'll get an item from it if
Or
you do
like
the
a playable
conversation.
character or something. You'll get something. It's like 1 star, it's kind of like kind of
Okay.
irrelevant. 2
So
stars, it's like it's
two
got some information,
yeah
and
two
3 stars, you get stuff.
Yeah, 2 stars is essentially you're having a conversation, but it might give you info that's important to the next chapter that you want to keep in mind. And then the 1 star is just kind of like it's just more fluff, more banter, but you get to learn more about these characters that they're talking about. And every chapter has this. Like after you do the base, you'll get a bit more story, and then you go right into the battle itself. And I really like that flow to it. I wish they would do that more often, because it's a way to give you more story, but not like completely tie you to doing support conversations to learn more about these characters that you might not use after the first chapter you recruit them.
Yeah, and like another thing that makes Path of Radiance especially like really really good is like the support conversations are unlocked just by being on the same map. So it's like if they're
Right.
it's not like turn based, or it's not like support heart based or friendship level based. It's literally just, hey, we were on the same map for 5 chapters. Support
See, that's really
conversation.
cool.
That is really
Yeah,
nice. You don't
that's
have to
really
grind.
cool.
It just happens naturally, and it's like it feels good.
Because I would have married Ivy if I could have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
but like,
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I need her to like fly all the way over there, whilst like Alir is like, kind of doing stuff over here. So yeah, like that was the because that's the thing as well. Like if you have a character where with like a rally skill, you can get like all their support conversations in like 2 seconds. Whereas if like people actually have to fight next to one another, I can't quite fully remember how Awakening worked. And forgive me if I told this story before, but do any of you remember who um you like had Prom end up with in like your Awakening playthroughs or like did you engineer that at all or anything like that? Like I'll tell my funny story in a sec, but do either of you remember who like Crom, because like Crom has to like pair up with someone so you can get like Lucina.
Well, not
But
necessarily. I think he could, like, if you don't end up marrying Crom, he just marries some random civilian.
Okay. Oh.
I think.
Not even like one of the character
No,
characters.
I think like you could actually just have him just like, if none of them are like S supported or whatever at that point, then he just ends up marrying some like generic NPC, if I remember correctly. Am I right on that, Daniel?
I thought it would like default to Sumiya. But
No,
maybe
I
that
think
wasn't
it
really
defaults to
the
like
situation.
just some random one. Yeah, I think that's only if no one gets to no one gets to see support that happens.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
probably,
like
that's probably why. That's probably why I didn't see it.
Was
Yeah.
Sumiya like one of like the maid characters? Were there like a pair of maid characters?
No, I think you're talking about Fates. Or if you're talking about maid characters, maybe that's Felicia and
Oh yeah, I think
and her sister as
Felicia
well.
might be.
Yeah. It's typically I want to say most people do Samia just because it's like the game kind of nudges you in that direction for like at least somewhat.
Is she the one? Basically, there was someone who kind of like fancies Crom, right? Like,
Well, there's two of them really. I
There's
think.
some. Yeah, there's
hang on,
some. But
I'm
Sumiya
looking
is
up.
like, yeah,
I'm
she's
looking
like
up
the
Sumiya
clumsy
now.
Pegasus rider.
Yeah,
that is
Samia's like
into
the one that
Crom.
like ends up. If I remember the cutscene correctly, she like saves like Crom and like he goes for a ride or something. If I remember that cutscene correctly, I might be completely going insane, but like Samia's like the one of the mains for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it was her. The thing I definitely remember there was like someone who, because I remember like when I played the game, and obviously this was just to do with like how I played my levels and how like like I don't know, Crom was like adjacent to people and stuff like that. But when I got to that part in the story where it's like, oh, Crom's gonna settle down and have a kid or whatever, um, I remember kind of again, yeah, I remember again, maybe it was like Sumiya, because again, it's been such a long time since I played Awakening now, but maybe it was like Sumiya, but again, that was who I had kind of, I don't know, shipped in my head or whatever.
Same.
Who again, the game had nudged me towards someone. There was like someone who, yeah, kind of like it was clear they sort of liked him a bit or whatever, and so I was kind of thinking that. But I do just remember like getting to like the middle of the game, and then again, Crom says whatever he's like, oh, we go to this war and da 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 and settle down, and then it's like Sully, like let's get married or whatever. I was like, Sully, what? I didn't know, but I guess just because of like I'd put those two together a lot, like in my battles kind of thing, like, but but I didn't even realize it. Like it probably wasn't like that common a thing. I think it was just literally I had like a rank up because those two had been together like a little bit more, or like enough times for them to like get one single rank up higher than everyone else. But it was just really random. So like, yeah, in my like Awakening it was like Crom and Sully, but there was just, I don't know, like nothing. It just like
feels
I was
weird
just
to me.
completely like blindsided by it, because again, yeah, like if it was like Sumiya, for example, it was just it's like, oh hi Mr. Crom, da da da, and then it's like Sully, want to get right, like Sully, what?
Like, I'm
So yeah,
defined
so
by
I
law.
always
Sully.
whenever I
It's like,
see Sully,
huh?
whenever I see Sully, or like when I got her in like Fire Emblem Heroes or whatever, I'm always just like this sort of Crom's random wife, like out of nowhere wife that I just wasn't expecting. Because that's kind of just how it panned out in my game. Because again, yeah, like I think I can't remember how like the like relationships and stuff worked in Awakening, but I know it was like it's like easier in modern again in like three houses you can go around and give everyone like their items and have them like cook meals with them together, and there's just all these things you can do to kind of like rank people up if you want to unlock those supports and stuff, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, like having them like just be on the same team, like for a battle, would be so much nicer. I mean, you'd unlock so many support conversations like all the time. Um, but like if like three houses worked that way, it would just be like you'd never leave the monastery. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
like
like that's what's
still,
so
I
nice
like
about
that
the
system.
Tellius. Is like Tellius handles it like, okay, yeah, it's built up over like X amount of chapters together on like deployed, but also like you're there's only so many you can like so many support conversations you can have, and then also you don't necessarily need all of them to get the idea of what's going on with the character, because that's what the base conversations can help you with too.
Okay.
So it's like you still get the idea of what the characters are about, and then you still get the some of the conversation to help with that, and you're not overloaded, because once you get like 5 or 6, you're just cut off. You're not getting any more. It's a really a lot of YouTubers are like saying like they can agree it's like the best support system in the series, pretty much. That might be a bit of a stretch, but like it's one of the best for sure. I like it the most, like hands down.
It
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Yeah, I
sounds
really
really
like it.
cool, interesting, and unique. So yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite parts about that is, again, with the base conversations. Sometimes it'll be a conversation with a character that you haven't interacted with for several chapters, and they kind
Mhm.
of just show up again on the base conversation because there's something like now they're in their country that they were fighting for, and they're in your army now because they so things happen and they kind of half defected, but they're still in your army. But then they started to see like, oh, there's something happening here that maybe I had the wrong idea. My perspective is slowly changing. So
Yeah.
when they're back in their home country, it's like, am I doing the right thing? Like, there's such good writing in Path of Radiance.
Oh,
I'm sure you'll love
100%.
that one whenever you get to it.
Yeah.
And then like for for reference from like the evolution of like GBA to like the Telia system, like the Path of Radiance system for like supports, how it used to be for like the GBA games, it's like you have to have these units close to each other for X amount of turns, and like Binding Blade was the worst example because sometimes it's like 400 turns or something stupid together,
Oh my
and you can only go
gosh.
up one support conversation per chapter. So sometimes it takes forever, and sometimes you don't even get like for let's say FE7. There's some key information you can get only through support conversations. But one of the characters that shows up that has a lot of his background and history on an opposing character. I'm trying not to give spoilers here. Like you have such a short amount of time to get those supports to learn the full story. It's very difficult to get it if you're playing normal. You have to like outright attempt to get every single like
Right.
conversation out of what little time you have left. And like for let's say Binding, it doesn't matter how late in the game those characters show up, it still takes that many turns. There's no it's normally like 400, but like we show up like halfway through, so it's 200. It's like no, they can show up like the second last chapter, and it's still 400 turns to get a support, which is basically impossible.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's
It was a terrible grind back
Yeah,
in the day.
Binding was the worst. FE7 kind of refined it, and then Path of Radiance was like they perfected it by then.
Path of Radiance was like, hold my elixir, and they
This
they
is how
did it
you do this.
everything
Let
that.
me teach you a master class on how to do supports, okay? Like, I'm
Oh,
not
that's
sure if
cool.
Daniel would agree with me, but like, I always think of Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn as doing both of them do opposite things extremely well. Like, I like to think Path of Radiance is like story and supports, and like, meanwhile, Radiant Dawn is like the gameplay is like top notch. So it's like not there's not one of them that's like infinitely perfect in every way, shape, and form. But like both the games do some aspects differently. Some ways they're stronger in one regard, and the other one's stronger in another, and it's an interesting dynamic between the two games. So like I don't know if Daniel can like kind of catch my drift on that, but like that's what how I think of it. I love the Talia series. Like they're my favorites in the entire franchise. And I'm constantly torn up day by day. I'm like, do I like Path or do I like Radiant more? I honestly don't know because
Mhm.
they both do opposite things that I like very well.
Yeah, for a long time, I feel like it was Radiant Dawn that I thought was definitely the one I liked more, just because it continued the story from Path of Radiance in a way where it's like, oh yeah, you kind of have to play Path of Radiance to really get a full grasp of everything that's happening in this one, and it tells it in such a well, in most cases, it tells it in such a cool way where it's really
Mhm.
all encompassing to the entire country, to all these different kinds of peoples that interact with each other. But and the gameplay itself also is just a lot more refined. The battles The battles are funny in Path of Radiance because they're so stiff and clearly they obviously this was the first 3D game for Fire Emblem, so Path of Radiance is a little janky in that way. But Radiant Dawn like upped it up so much. Like there's so much more dynamic in battles. Like
Yeah, like Radiant Dawn is like
I
more
love
visually pretty. Like
yeah, there'll be like some battle animations where like a Myrmidon will do a flip and they'll knock the enemy off their feet and they crawl back up again, or like the Lagoos. The Lagoos look so much better in Radiant Dawn because like a cat, for example, will jump out and they'll like bite their face and then they'll like scurry back into position. Whereas Path of Radiance, they always just jump behind them and then jump and bite their back or something. It's a weird animation. It's so
yeah,
silly.
but like I said,
But
it's
then
like each
again,
game does something different very well. Radiant Dawn has like no
yeah,
support conversations really. They don't exist. Like they're
they
garbage.
they ripped out support conversations in Radiant Dawn essentially.
Yeah, Radiant Dawn is just like, "Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Thanks for fighting with me. Yeah, no prob. Done." They're not character specific. They're just generic.
Rank up.
Hi, how are you? That's it. Like,
Thankfully there's still base conversations, which kind of helped me to forgive it a little bit for that. But the actual support conversations, the way we know today, they just didn't exist in that game, which I think was a time constraint reason.
yeah, but like for Path of Radiance, they did it perfect. Like it's that's I'm like, why would you
Mhm.
downgrade, dude?
Yeah. There's so much about that like I think over the years I kind of just come across to just like to realize both do things very differently and they have their own strengths to the point where I just like both. I think they're both just amongst
Hmm.
my favorite. I love the Telly's games the most, and I have been trying to get people to play Path of Radiance as much as I can since that came out on NSO earlier this
Yes.
year.
So now you don't need like a $500 physical copy anymore, or you don't need to worry about
Yes,
emulating.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
We do
crazy
actually do have a
times.
couple questions in chat that I've been kind of holding on to for
Oh,
a
yeah,
tiny
no,
little
go
bit.
for it.
But the first they're both I believe from Tempest Mask. The first one is they didn't realize that you voiced Beatty from Pokemon Masters. How did it feel to get to bring that role to life?
Oh, yeah, Bede was a
I keep
funny
pronouncing that
one.
wrong.
No, it's like everyone does. Um, like people for I think basically, funnily enough, not to sort of, I don't know, sound like I'm tooting my own horn here or anything, but I think basically until like I came along and did that character,
Mm.
um, people didn't know officially how to pronounce it, but it's only because my character does say like I'm Bede that people are like, oh, it's Bede. I've been pronouncing it like BD or Bede,
Yeah,
but you know
that
all these
explains why I got that wrong because I
things.
haven't played
So
Masters.
no, again, no, don't worry, like you're not alone. But no, so no, I loved getting to play that character. The long story short of it is basically, um, when I like got the audition for it and stuff, it was sort of again, I never know how much like I can and can't say about these things, but like it was sort of like an audition where um it was sort of one I kind of like had to do, but I was kind of like, you know, because I'm such a big fan of like Sword and Shield, but I was like, Bead, like I'm not like a bead, you know, like there are other characters in that game that I'd be much better suited to, and things like that. But then I kind of like looked over like the audition lines and stuff like that, and kind of was like, well, let me go away and like think about it and stuff like that, and you know, I'll look up the bits of his story from Bulbapedia, refresh myself on them and things like that. And then when I actually got in the booth and got behind the microphone and started doing it, it just kind of like sort of came to me very quickly, and I was like, oh no, yeah, I do understand this character. Like, and although I don't say like personally, like I don't personally like identify with Bede, I do understand Bede. But that's like a very that was just like a very different thing for me, like voice acting wise, because I sort
Mhm.
of feel like with a lot of the characters I book, I sort of I feel like I really sort of am them in so many ways. Whereas with Bede, it's kind of more of a there are ways I am like Bede, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it at all. But it's kind of like, but there's a lot about Bede where it's kind of like I'm able to do it just because I understand it because I've experienced it from like other people kind of thing, or it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I get what that is. I know what that's like. I've been on the other end of that, or I've
Mm-hmm.
watched other people be like that, or that's like a, or like, oh, that's a thing. That's like a sort of certain subtype of people from England or something like that. So it's kind of so it's just something where I kind of yeah, so it was just this real thing where it was like he's so different from like other characters I've played, and I just when
Yeah.
I like first looked at it I was like, I can't do this, like I'm not a bead at all. But then once I actually like you know walked away, thought about it, and like got behind the microphone, it was like, oh no, wait, yeah, I can do this, and it's really really fun as well. So
That's
I,
fair. That's
I
fair.
I absolutely have loved it.
It's so
Mm-hmm.
amusing because, like, yeah, for when I found that out myself, like, that's Beau, because when you first
Yeah,
meet Bede in Sword and Shield, like your first few encounters with them, you you get the feeling like this is a very different archetype than what I would picture Beau to do. Like I see
yeah.
you more as the Chung Yun more than the Bede, definitely.
No,
But
and,
like,
and and me too. Exactly, yeah. And like, you're not wrong in that. It's not like Daniel, you've completely misunderstood me as a person. It's like, no, that's exactly what went through my head basically when I like
hmm
got that opportunity. Um, so yeah, hopefully that's a satisfying answer. But yeah, I've loved, because again, Sword and Shield are very like special to me as well. They were like my first Pokemon games that I played like out here in America, and they were like the first new generation that I played out here, and they're like first generation on like the Switch, which is like again like my first console that I got after moving here. And but they're like set in England, so it kind of reminded me of like, and they did such a good job um of like sort of Galar, but like making it English and stuff like that. Like some of the other regions kind of just, I don't know, it sort of felt like there were some aesthetic-y type things, and maybe it's just because I'm not from those places, but like Galar, they just did such a good job with it. Like even like the writing in the game, whoever like adapted the English sort of script in that game did a phenomenal job, because they just use so many like Britishisms and like
Mm-hmm.
British ways of saying
yeah,
things, and it's like small. It's like really small, but like but it's not. There were only like I think like two lines where I felt like they were kind of like cliche things where I kind of like sort of was like, ugh, sort of thing. But it was like two. There's one where there's like a police officer who goes like, "What's all this then?" Or right, and it's like, okay, yeah, like everyone says that one or whatever. But the other things though were like there's one bit where like Hop talks about like Leon has like no sense of direction, and Hop describes it as like your pants with directions, and it's like I again having like lived in America for nearly 8 years now, it's like, oh my gosh, the phrase pants, I've not heard that in like forever, because like no one says that out here, and that's just like such like a British thing. Just for any like pants for one thing, it means like underpants and not like trousers in England. But then it's also kind of like a word people use for like if something's rubbish or not very good kind of thing. Like, oh,
hmm
those games are pants or whatever. Or like, oh, the support conversations in that one's pants or whatever. So so yeah, but like just things like that. I was like, oh my gosh, like these people really kind of, I don't know, they like talk to some English people, or they got
Mm-hmm.
English
They
people.
did their
Like
research.
they're like, yeah, they did. Like it's not just, it was stuff that was like beyond like cliche or something as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like so it was just, so those games were like very special to me, and I love them. I know people sort of think they're a bit like mid or meh or whatever, but I personally think they're just underappreciated.
I
Um,
might have to send you like a song or two because as we were talking about Galar, just the way that you pronounce it is triggering two different songs in my head, and I'm like, I have to
oh
send
yeah,
these to you.
yeah.
Galar.
No,
Can't
you're
catch 'em
welcome
all
to go
anymore,
for
gotta catch half. Find me in the water type gym with a Galar.
it.
Like,
but
I gotta send you these. They're in my head now.
but yeah, sorry. So but that anyway, so that's the bead thing. But and then sorry, you said there was like another question as well, but that was
Yes,
like 10 minutes
same person. I just gotta scroll back a little
ago.
ways
Tempest.
here. They were wondering. Oh, yeah. What's your home recording setup like these days? What would you recommend for others to use, basically? Like, if you have any recommendations on equipment or stuff like that.
Yeah, I am definitely not the authority on this one, and I'm very fortunate that I live in a household with like other voice actors, and so sort of the main sort of roommate kind of thing, a person like whose house I live in, she like has a booth and a full, sort of full booth set up and everything, and I moved in with them. It was like I don't know, like 9, 10 months before like the pandemic kind of thing, and then and I've kind of been in like this household ever since. So I haven't sort of like super duper had to be very hands on with like dealing with my own equipment and stuff for like a long time, and even then I was only ever like an amateur or whatever anyway. Um it is sorry, excuse me a second. There we go. I will say there is a bit of a tough thing because like there's more expected to be like recorded at home these days. Like there's once upon a time ago where like if voice actors had some equipment at home, it was kind of just like audition equipment, right? Like they just needed like a good audition setup. Whereas now there's kind of like the expectation of like, no, you got to be able to like record a whole job. And so that might require things like having like a nice computer, um and like some kind of soundproof space, and like to be able to like hook up like an internet connection so that you could actually do like a session where you're like being directed with someone over the internet, or you can be connected to a program like Source Connect, which is like a sort of program where you can kind of connect with people and record high quality with someone like very far away. um so I don't envy people sort of more on the beginner side of things, because there's kind of more pressure to have like a good space. That said, one piece of advice I will give is just, I don't know, just buying a bunch of like expensive stuff or things that or things that have just got like 5-star ratings and stuff doesn't automatically just equal like a good setup. Like there is kind of a bit of a science and a magic to like a good recording space kind of thing. And one thing people always kind of say, but it is also true, is kind of like the space is more important than the equipment. So like creating like a good, quiet and like soundproofed space, um, with like an okay microphone is sort of better than like an excellent microphone in a rubbish, echoey, um, not very good space, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Because if you've got a very high quality microphone that like picks up every individual little noise, and then you are in an area where you have not contained every individual little noise, then your recording's just going to sound terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you have like a sort of decent microphone, but in like a really well contained space where you've got like the foam and soundproofing and everything, then it sort of will sound better, because you're not going to pick up a bajillion little noises and echoes and sort of fuzzy background noise and all that kind of stuff. Um, but with all that said as well, it kind of really just depends on the types of projects you're going to record for. Again, if you are recording for more like indie type things, like there is just going to be a bit less pressure than if you're recording for like, I don't know, national television broadcasts or AAA games or whatever. Um, so I don't have any like particular, like, oh, microphone suggestions or anything, because again it really sort of depends on like what kind of physical space you've got to record in, like what your budget is, what types of projects you're going to be working on, slash where you're on in your career. Like it's such like an open-ended kind of question that I just can't really answer it. And again, I'm not really qualified enough either, where even if you told me all that stuff, like pertaining to you specifically, Tempest, if I've remembered your username,
Yeah.
then like even if you told me all that stuff, I probably still wouldn't be like the best person to help with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like but yeah, I would say these days though, you kind of want like a good, like a good microphone that, like, ideally you would sort of want a microphone that's not just like a USB microphone. you would want like a audio interface, which is kind of because USB microphones basically sort of do the audio interface's job as well. It's like they do the job of like a microphone and the audio interface, whereas if you kind of get like those two things separately, that's sort of better because it's like better having two devices that each devoted to their own individual task kind of thing. Like that's the idea behind it. Um, but yeah, sort of like microphone, um, and then the audio interface. So your microphone plugs into audio interface, and then your audio interface plugs into the computer. Um, but again, your computer can kind of be a lot of different things. It can be, you know, it can be like a whole sort of like desktop kind of thing with like a tower, but it can be like a laptop as well, depending on how good your laptop is. You can use the free program Audacity is a really good sound recording thing because if you are just sort of the voice actor, you're not gonna need a fancy program like one of the other ones. Like Audacity is good and fine. Um, and yeah, but then it is just about like sort of creating a good sort of soundproofed sort of space is the thing. Like having the like sound absorbing foam and things like that. Like a lot of people will kind of get
Right.
like a sort of like a booth in their house and they like literally weigh like thousands of pounds. And if you live somewhere, like if you live in like an apartment or something where you're like on a second floor, like you legit
Yeah.
might not be able to like have one of them or something because of how heavy they are. So, but again, that's where it's kind of like, well, it kind of depends on your living situation and this, that, and the other, and things, and so that can be like really tough as well because there are some people where it's like oh I live on like the second floor or like my landlord says I can't do that or whatever and that's tough but
Yeah, I definitely don't have the space to get a booth, so I have a bunch of foam in front of me, just stuck off all over the walls, and then there's like an open closet that has my clothing there, so
I,
it also dilutes some of the sound too. Just little tricks, little
you,
budget tricks we can do.
I was gonna say that was you led me very nicely into one thing I was gonna say. One thing you can do is your closet, because yeah,
Mm-hmm.
your closet is like a sort of small little space, and yeah, you have clothes in there. You can chuck like foam in there and stuff as well. And it is kind of just like a little sort of small shut off space that you could kind of use and benefit from. And there are people who did that in the pandemic, like they sort of converted their closets into recording spaces and stuff. So
Yeah, back then
like
you
it
didn't have
can
much of a
be
choice
done.
in the matter. It's like, well, I need to get the work
Yeah,
done and can't go anywhere to do it. So
yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. So I was super fortunate and lucked out, and I have not needed to wrap my head around it all too much, very fortunately. But that's sort of like a very general kind of outline of what you would kind of need and um, stuff like that. And again, it just kind of depends on basically the TLDR of this is you can't just like buy a microphone like off Amazon and then like stand in like the middle, put it in like the middle of your living room and like hit record and you know and record away because you will suddenly realize that your like brain like filters out a lot of noise that like a microphone doesn't like filter out any noise, it captures everything. And the one thing you kind of realize when you sort of start recording like for voiceover is you realize like how much noise your brain filters out for you. Like there are so many like
Yeah.
noises in your house and stuff that your brain has just like shut off. Like um I mean this is like a really silly example but like if you had like a clock in your house or like a grandfather clock type thing where like there's a pendulum and it like
the,
eventually your brain just kind of like shuts that kind of thing out.
Hmm.
But like a microphone will not, like you'll hit that record button, you'll be like what's that, and you're like, oh, the clock. um so but there is just kind of like all kinds of like staticky background noise. Um, I mean, again, you can kind of hear if you ever actually do go into like a padded. One fun thing you can kind of do actually is if you go into like a like a room like a bathroom or a kitchen where there's like tile or maybe like laminate flooring or something. And if you like stand in like the middle of it and you go, I'll try and not do this too loudly and I'll step away from my mic. But if you sort of go like, ah, Um, but then if you go into like your closet, but where you have like a load of clothes and stuff, and then do the exact same thing at the exact same volume, like you will kind of just hear like one is more echoey and one is more sort of like dead sounding kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so that's like a very kind of like rudimentary at home example of what you could kind of do. Like, but if you kind of like basically kind of like run between like your kitchen and your closet, and you're like, ah, and then like run to the other space and like, ah, and then you just kind of keep doing that, and you'll kind of hear like one is like very echoey, and one is like much kind of more like dead and sort of quiet.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, it's like that kind of thing is what I mean when I say like, oh, like the space you record in is like very important because yeah.
So does
So
that mean
hopefully
that
that
you
kind of helpful.
Yeah, that.
does that mean that you prefer recording at like at a different like a at a studio, or do you prefer at
Yes.
home?
No. The only benefit of recording at home is when you have like quick sessions where they're kind of just like a few lines or something. So like
Mm-hmm.
if you do like book a character in something, and then um like, oh hey, we need to other like again, like there are lots of games these days where there are like updates and things, and so they'll kind of be like, oh hey, we need you for like a couple of lines. And when that kind of thing happens, it's nice to just do it from home because you don't need to worry about it. But when you have like hundreds of lines you need to do, and you need to do them, like, oh hey, we're booking you for like 4 hours, and we've got these like several hundred lines we need to do, and we got to do them within the 4 hours or whatever, or like however many hours. But when you're kind of like on a, when you kind of need to be working quickly and like at a very high level, recording at home is just sort of more stressful. Um, but if you're just doing like a couple of lines, it's like, oh, it's just your character talking at like a regular volume, and it's like 2 lines. It is annoying when you have to like go all the way to a studio to do that. But like that kind of thing is like perfect for like doing at home. Again, if you have the setup at least. Um, but yeah, but when you're doing like a session where you're kind of needed for like, you know, maybe like an hour or more or something like that, and it's quite a lot of like lines, and it's like new stuff. And if you're recording at like different volumes, that's a thing as well. Like again, if you're performing a character where like everything is all at the same volume, you can kind of just like set all the dials on your audio interface and like you're good. But when it's like, okay, here you're screaming, but then here you're like whispering, and then you're screaming again, and then you're talking normally, and then you're whispering again, and it's just like, oh my gosh, you're just like fiddling around with knobs on your your dials and stuff. And that kind of thing is like, you just really want to have like an actual like be in a studio with like
Mm-hmm.
an audio engineer when like that kind of a session happens. Like
But
my
then you don't have
first
to worry
ever
about
like,
it. You just kind of like just walk in, do the lines.
yeah,
Other people's
yeah, and you
problem done.
just get to be the actor. Well, that's the thing. Like when you don't have to in the back of your head have the worry of like, oh, is this going to record properly?
You can
Like
focus on what you
that
need
is
to.
a yeah. You just
Mm-hmm.
focus on what you need to. Like again, a bit like with the audio, a bit like how I said earlier. Like, oh, if you have like a microphone and an audio interface, that's sort of better than having like a microphone that like kind of has like audio interface stuff kind of built into it, because that's never going to be as good as an actual devoted audio interface. And it's kind of like that with being in a studio. It's like when you get to just be the actor, that's so much nicer than if you have to be like the actor and the engineer. Um, or like say when you're doing like auditions at home where you have to be like the actor and the engineer and the director.
Mm-hmm.
When you just get to like everyone gets to do their individual separate thing, like that's so much nicer. Um,
Yeah,
and it,
I still feel like I'm learning, and I'm still feel like I'm trying to figure out how my audio setup is when I'm recording, because like I do have an audio system with mine, but when I record, I still feel like, does this still sound good? Like this, should I yeah, you have to go through like some filters to make sure that it sounds optimized, that you're not too quiet, that there's no noise in the background. It's a lot to manage when you're not just focusing on the thing you're reading in front of you or just talking into the microphone.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so and again, like it just when you have different volumes, forgive me if I told this story on like one of the previous times I've been here, but like when I did my first like Beyblade session, and I did that from home, and I was already kind of like, oh my gosh, I haven't like sort of done I'd only done like one or something like dubbing projects from home, and I hadn't done like any anime from like home, and so I was already like nervous about that. And my first session was just like, again, it was that kind of thing where it's like, we're like sneaking through like this like old kind of like, like, oh, they say this house is haunted, or kind of whatever, like, we're sort of sneaking through this kind of like house, and so there's kind of a lot of like, hey, we shouldn't be in here kind of thing, and then it's like, oh, ghosts. And so I'm sorry if I just blew out anyone's ears, but it's like, but it was just like that. And like, so having the pressure of having to make sure that like I'm recording that in a way where the audio doesn't clip and stuff like that. Clipping is where like you record too loud, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of change that by, if I like turn the sensitivity down on this, I'm just going to talk at the same volume, but you can hear me going down and down, and then I'm going to sort of bring this back up again so you can like actually hear me again. But like, but you have to turn that sensitivity down if you're going to yell. But it's just like, but you always want to sort of keep it at like the most optimal kind of level. Like, you can't just be like, oh well, I'll turn it down like all the way and it'll be fine. It's like you always kind of want to, you know, kind of have it in like the sweet spot kind of thing where you come through at like a sort of optimal audio level.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so just with that Beyblade session, there was just all these kind of like plates I kind of like had to spin, and that first session was just like that episode was just really kind of like one thing, then the other, then the other, then the other, and like doing all that, but like, and from home, I was just like so nervous and scared. And then but then all like my other sessions were basically my character kind of spoke mostly at like an even level, and then maybe like I would have like battles, but then the battles would kind of be like sort of yelling at a particular volume. So that was sort of quite good because it was like, whereas that first session was really just like loud, then quiet, then loud. And it just was sort of like all over the place in terms of just constantly having to readjust. Whereas it was kind of like, right, I'm in normal mode, so I'm just kind of talking. It's like, oh, I'm in a battle now, so I'll turn it down to like this level. This is my like battle level, and this is my regular level. But in that first session, there were just all these other things where I was like, I'm sort of whispering, and then I'm like scared, and then I'm battling, and then I'm whispering again, or and so it was just like, so yeah, so studio is really nice. Like, obviously, like, yeah, like having to travel to a studio, and some of the studios are very far away and things like that as well, and so yeah, that can suck and be annoying or whatever. But if you have like a session where it's like not just some quick like pickups or some quick like, oh, there's a little update and you got like 2 lines for it where you're just talking at a regular volume, for that kind of thing, it's like, well, can I just do that at home? It's also nicer for your schedule as well because you can schedule more things. You have more flexibility if you can say, well, can I just do that from home?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're like, oh, I need to like drive an hour to this studio and whatever, that kind of like blocks out like your whole like a whole morning or afternoon or something like that. Even if you're just doing like 2 lines, it's like, well, I have to go all the way there and then I have to come all the way back. Whereas if you're like doing it from home, you're like, I can do it at this time or this time or this time or this time. Whereas yeah, if you're going in studio, it's like, I need to block out a whole like morning for this or something like that.
Yeah. So like
So
I'm guessing from the sounds of them, like not many projects would prefer like voice actors to stay at home for recordings. Then if there's a like typically like audio sensitive kind of stuff, like I'm assuming they'd want you in the studio for the most part if possible.
I
yeah,
imagine
and
yes,
if
bro.
if there's like a lot of stuff to do, because it is just more efficient. Um, so yeah, if you have like big project, and if it's like a big project and you're like the main character, um, where you're needed for like lots and lots of sessions or something, like yeah, like in studio is gonna be like the better thing for
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, but obviously there are exceptions. There are some people who just live far away and they're really good and they've kind of got it all figured out and everything. Um, but there are some things where but also when you have everyone in studio as well, it means that all the different people recording are all recording on the same thing, and so it kind of means when you're moving into like post audio processing, you're sort of working with the same kind of base level for like all the audio kind of thing. Whereas if you've say got like you know audio from like 10 different people and they've recorded from like 10 different setups, that can be a bit of an awkward thing once you're actually like dealing with the audio afterwards and like implementing it into like your game or your project or whatever. Whereas again, if everyone's recorded on all the same stuff in like the same way, that takes a lot of work out on like the back end as well. So that's also another reason why like in studio is kind of favored. But again, it kind of depends on the situations. Because again, if you're just recording like again like 2 lines for an update or something, it's like it's fine to do it from home. But again, when you are dealing with like, hey, we need you for like several hours and there's gonna be like whispering and talking and you're gonna die a lot as well. Then it's like you kind of want like the very super professional setup for that, with all the different bells and whistles and professionals working on it. So yeah.
Yeah, that is completely
Gotcha.
fair. Like because like if it's like just minimal like 1 line, 2 line, that's like it doesn't really affect them much. Where it's like stay at home, come in, whatever. But like it's like we need like it'd be like kind of a comparison of like let's say like when it came to doing Kent's, did you end up doing Kent's lines for Faye at home or was that studio?
So when I did Kent for Heroes, I did like I think I was like quite pandemic-y still or something, so I did do that from home, yes.
Okay.
Um,
I was just thinking because I'm like,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a whole lot of lines for that. I'm like trying to compare in my head. I'm like, Faye to like 3 houses. 3 houses would have like if if unless there's something wrong with the world, you're in the studio for that. But I'm like, for Faye, I can like there's not too much voice lines per se, so I'm like maybe they'd be more lenient on that regard.
right, right.
It's
Yeah,
really
I
interesting
don't.
because there's some characters where they're older voice acting or they're older like roles that were around that time of pandemic. Like you can actually hear, and if you compare it to one that came, like if an alt came out today, for example, one of them, the older one, might sound a bit more muffled, a little more not as
Right.
clear and crisp as one. And it's so interesting to be able to hear that in the game itself from one to the other.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, that's very true. And that's the thing, like, yeah, again, going back to like, oh, would places prefer like in studio? And it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, for like the most part, because of that exact reason, like you can hear it in some cases as well. So,
Mm.
um, so yeah. But yeah, so I get once again, like I hope all that. I know we've taken like half an hour with like 2 questions. I don't know if there are like any other questions. If there are, I promise
we
we'll be quicker with them.
No,
But
actually, we're, like
this
at the moment anyway,
th-
we're all caught up on questions from chat at the moment anyway. So
okay, well, I
yeah.
imagine we'll probably be wrapping up soon, just because it's like late for everyone at this point.
yeah.
But and if you got to be up at like 5:30 for your video and stuff like that. Um, But hang on, I'm gonna like lightning round things that I wrote down from like my playthrough or other things I thought of. Oh yeah, one thing again, just with these like well-written stories and worlds and characters and everything, a really cool. I know this is sort of like obvious, but I think with Three Houses, every time I replayed it, I did like a different story. So though there were little like elements of things where it's kind of like, oh, I know what this is going to be about, or like who that character secretly is, or whatever. It was still kind of like largely new each time.
Mhm.
But like with this one, because I'm just replaying like the same story, it was interesting having little lines of dialogue and things where, because I played it before and I kind of knew what the story was or knew what the plot twists were or whatever, um, you would kind of like see little things like really early in the game that kind of came to be later on, for example. So again, spoilers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But like when it, it might have even been during like her, again, spoilers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, during her death scene, like Lumera, um it might have been, or it might have been before that even, but she sort of says about like, I've waited like 1,000 years for you to say mother, right? And I think when you're like first playing it, you just think it's about the fact that like Alira has been asleep for 1,000 years. Like, oh, I've waited 1,000 years for you to say mother. Whereas it's kind of like no, she kind of like waited for him to say mother because like Aaliyah was like an adopted child kind of thing. So it's kind of like I've waited for you to say mother as opposed to the I've waited 1,000 years. Like so like there are things like that. And then also there's like a thing with Ivy. There was like a line with Ivy I noted here where it was like uh that ring belongs in Letho's castle. Um and then it was something about like there's something about like Ivy where she says about like seeing you in person up close, and like that line kind of stood out to me because in like her supports and stuff, she kind of says about it kind of like how she worships the divine dragon and stuff like that, and kind of like has this sort of reveres the divine dragon, um, and and there was just this line about like seeing you up close, and it kind of like just in the supports there's this whole kind of thing where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like right in front of you and you're like this deity that I worship and stuff like that. So like that really stood out to me, and so it's just really interesting having these little things that you kind of noticed like earlier on in the script that I probably wouldn't have paid attention to or as much attention to the first time around and stuff like that. So um, but yeah, again, the game has so many characters. There were ones I like forgot about, like when Amber came in. Again, I didn't use Amber the first time. I didn't use Amber the second time. I like when Amber entered. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy. I forgot about this guy. Sorry, Amber. Just I didn't like. I was just like, nope.
Hey, it's the bench. How are you, bench?
Yes, exactly. Like, sorry, but he's like, "Oh, whoa, Horsey." It's like, okay, bench. Yep. Sorry. But I'm sorry if he's like secretly amazing. If it's one of those, um, what is it? Was Donnie the name of the character from Fire? Like there's always
Awakening.
the yeah, like there's always like the weak character who actually is really strong if you invest
Donald,
time
yeah.
in them or whatever. Donald, that's it.
Yeah.
But so I'm sorry if like Amber is actually like a you know savant or something, but it's just like I forgot about this guy, but I've immediately remembered why I didn't play with him the first time. Uh, but yeah, so. But yeah, so it's just been it's been. I hope again. I hope I part of me kind of hopes that Fortune's Weave doesn't come out like too soon, just because I have only just played Engage, and I want to sort of, I don't know, I don't want to get like too Fire Emblemed out kind of thing, by like playing them like two back to back. Because that was the thing I had with Three Houses when I did, like I got Three Houses like before the pandemic, so I did like my original playthrough like
Mhm.
before like lockdown, and then when the lockdown began, um, actually no, no, that's a lie. No, I got it. Actually, no, I kind of, that thing, pandemic was a weird time because I kind of forget like how long it all kind of went on really because we were sort of like locked down for like over a year really. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, first year I only really had like Sword and Shield and some other games, but then it was like the first Christmas, like the lockdown Christmas, is when I got Three Houses. So I sort of played that over Christmas or whatever. But then we were still kind of like locked down after Christmas, like the vaccine hadn't come about or anything, and just things were still bad. So it was kind of like after a couple of months or whatever, I was kind of like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna play this again. I sort of was curious about like the Blue Lions, and like I don't know. I've never like replayed a Fire Emblem. I'll do this because it's got the
Mhm.
different paths. But it's like as soon as I finished that one, I was sort of like, I think I could do a bit more Fire Emblem. But the problem is, I didn't really have like a whole second playthrough in me. So by the time I did like Blue Lions and Golden Deer like back to back, and that was just way too much. Um, doing those two like
Oh
together, and
God.
so
Yeah.
if I'd just taken like a few months off, I think it would have been okay. But because I really did just do one, then the other, that was just too much. So I hope there's like a I hope Fortune's Weave doesn't come too soon. Like, I definitely want it to still come this year and everything.
Yeah, Nintendo has like games lined up until at least July, so I would imagine August would be the earliest time we could expect to see this game if we get any news for it anytime soon. Because we also through the same thing with Splatoon Raiders. Like we got the announcement. We
Yeah.
went a long time with no Splatoon Raiders announcements, and once they actually finally said something again, it's going to come out in like a couple of months now.
I know. Well, that's just the thing I fear. But I'm kind of hoping for like something more. I don't know. Yeah, like autumn or wintry or something like that. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, like right
Holiday
before
release,
Christmas
yeah.
would be ideal. Like not like right before, but like maybe like end of November-ish.
Yeah,
Because
like
then
that's
it's
thing
like
that like
that would be
October, November kind of slot would be so good, I
that would
think.
be
But
perfection because then it'd be like, okay, Fire Emblem fans, y'all know you're getting a gift. We know we're gonna make a lot of money for this. Like it's the best time of the year to do this. Let's do it.
so that would be like I think like the perfect thing, and then because that's the thing, we're not getting Pokemon this year. Like I think everyone kind of thought like everyone was like, yes, we're not getting it after like 3 years, but we'll get it like after 4, and then it's like actually it's going to be a bit more than 4, and it's like
Yeah, and
oh
this is
okay,
like the first time
Fair.
Pokemon's been like this spread out, right? Usually it's like
yeah.
strictly like every 3 years or something, and this is the first time where it's like, oh yeah, it's not gonna be like it'll be 5. It's like what? Why?
They are no, yeah, they are really I think they're strategically taking their time with this one because we already have a lot of releases for Pokemon already. This year, there's so much Pokemon just this year
Well, that's because it's the
that
30th anniversary, right? Like that's why Pokemon right now is going insane. We're like jam packed with TCG sets, and we got lots of anniversary stuff with the different games, and like
Yeah,
they're,
like
they're
we've had
going
Arceus
like
really
crazy
came
Fire
right
Red,
now.
Leaf
through.
Green, and we've had
Fire Red Leaf Green.
Champions.
Pokopia is the major
Yeah,
one right now. That's the big
Pokopia.
Yeah,
one.
Yeah,
there's lots.
So we
Um,
don't need a Pokemon game right now, but I'm
yeah.
glad that one is coming very soon. And it looks really weird to say that it looks really nice. Like a Pokemon game with great graphics, that's a blasphemy.
yeah,
But
so like from what I'm hearing, the region is based on like Philippines, Indonesia area, which is super
Yeah.
cool. I'm excited about that because I've been to both those countries, so I'm like, I'm gonna love this. There's one last question that Night
Yeah.
Sparrows asked. What has been your favorite line that you've read? Do you have a favorite line?
In anything or
Just
just
in general, I
Fire
think.
Emblem?
I guess in anything, yeah. Is it like one that
Ooh.
sticks with you that you remember its delivery for, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, with like Chongyun, or the thing is, I'm afraid I'm gonna get this like the wrong way round. But like, I always kind of remember like the I ride on wind and cloud alike. But forgive me if I've got that the wrong way round. Like, if it's cloud and wind alike. But like that one, I just always kind of remember, even though I ironically might have just got it wrong. But that one always kind of, and like a touch of frost, like those two really kind of stuck with
Mm,
me. Um, I actually can't really remember with Kent. I kind of remember the talking about Lady Lynn. I remember, or Lady Lindis, I should say, I suppose. But
Hmm.
yeah, I just sort of remember there's like the line where I'm kind of talking about her. I do remember that one a lot and quite well. Um, like that one definitely I remember more than the others, I think.
mm,
Um, and then yeah, I don't. Ooh, that's a really good question, actually. I hate when I get asked really good questions where I probably do have a good answer to them if I could sit and think about them. But it's like, oh crud, I haven't thought about this because that's such a good question. Um, but I'll let you know if I think of any others. I was just I'll say a quick funny story. I say
mm,
quick funny story, and then we'll be here past midnight. But like, one thing I have done in the past week is bef- right before the pandemic, and I really sorry, I know the pandemic keeps coming up, but it was a big deal. We all kind of
and to be
probably
fair,
should
it lasted a long
acknowledge
time,
it.
so.
But like but anyway, but like right before the pandemic, I recorded like my first ever anime movie. It was actually first like anime I worked on as well, but and it's actually to this day still the only anime movie I've worked on. Like I did this movie and then I did like Beyblade and a few other things. Um, but I recorded this anime movie. It's called Children of the Sea. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. Maybe it is. If it is, go watch it. But I like never got to watch this movie. and like my parents had like got a DVD of it back in England and like watched it, but I still hadn't. And then basically last weekend I did finally watch it. Like I got like the Blu-ray and DVD was like sort of available inexpensively, so I got it. Um, and so I finally got to like watch my anime movie, yay! Um, and it was so interesting watching it because you only like record your own parts and stuff. So even though it's like an anime, so like you're dubbing to a picture, so I got to like see everything that was going on. And I was sort of like told by my director like what's going on and what kind of like happened before this scene and what this is kind of what you're kind of setting up and stuff like that. Even though I had like all this information about kind of like the movie and what I did. And even though like the overall story and plot it was kind of pretty much in line with what I kind of experienced and what I knew, like I could sort of say, okay, it's about like this girl who meets these like two boys and they're kind of special and they were like sort of kind of half raised in the ocean by dugongs and stuff like that. Not the Pokemon dugong, but like
Dang,
magical dugongs.
I like the dugong
But
idea.
but like but like I had always someday back when I like streamed and stuff like that. I did always want to if I was ever able to like play Pokemon Blue, but like change your starter to like any Pokemon. I did always want to do a like canon on Glade voice actor like beat Pokemon Blue with like only Dugong or something like that. um, but anyway, but so I kind of like I probably could have still described the movie quite well and largely been correct. But it was so interesting watching the movie because the actual kind of like pacing of it was so different than what I thought. And things that I kind of knew happened, I was like, oh, that must happen like quite late in the movie. And then actually it like happened in like the middle of the movie and things like that. And so it was just like so um interesting having these things kind of play out like like I knew all the things that played out, but they still kind of played out differently than what I expected because again, I just kind of knew the bits I knew, but I didn't know like when they happened or what that would feel like as an audience member like watching it. And like a quick example, and I promise this does lead into like the good lines question. I haven't forgotten the question.
You're good, don't worry.
But like but I did not realize, and I feel so sorry for like my parents who a few years ago like got this DVD of like an anime movie. My spoilers, my parents like don't watch a lot of anime, um, but like you know, so they're like watching this movie, and I did not know that everyone has like one line or something at like the beginning of the movie, like it kind of establishes all the major players at the beginning of the movie. But then my character, if anyone is like, oh, I like this Beau guy, I'm gonna go check out this anime movie. Just heads up that I do not then show up in it, apart from these like two lines at the beginning, until like 48 minutes into the movie. Like I did not know that it took like nearly an hour for my character to be in the movie. I thought it was like 25 to 35 minutes, maybe like 40 tops. I did not know it was like nearly like 50 minutes until I showed up. And so it was just such a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of movie here before I show up. And I just feel so sorry for my parents who like had to watch this movie for like such a long time. And then like most of my stuff like takes place in about like 20 minutes basically. Like almost all my lines is basically again apart from that like two lines at the beginning, almost everything is like within like 20 minutes. And then I think I had like one or two things afterwards. But I had this big monologue which I kind of remembered. So again, this is where like the lines that come into it. So I kind of remembered like this monologue I have. And again, I don't know what kind of gave me this perception that was turned out to be very wrong, but I thought I like rounded out the movie. Like I thought like, oh, big third act finale type stuff happens, and then I kind of have this monologue and it like rounds out the movie and like roll credits. And no, like my monologue, it like I have this monologue and it's like sort of quite a conclusive thing or whatever, but like there's still like 15 minutes a movie afterwards. So I sort of like remember this monologue, but again, I thought I was like rounding out a movie and then boom, credits roll. And nope, there's like nope, there's like 15 minutes a movie and then credits and then like post-credit scene, like Samuel L. Jackson recruits Dugong to the Avengers, like, boom. But yeah, so it's just sort of it's just sort of interesting that this that sort of monologue I had. Again, I sort of sort of remembered it and stuff, but I thought it like played out very differently in the final product than it actually did. And again, I don't 100% know why I like had this perception, but it was just the feeling I had at the time. I don't think it like impacted my performance or anything, in like any kind of like negative way. But that was just something where. But yeah, I kind of remembered sort of like that monologue. That was like one of the things that I um remember as like again, I can't remember like the actual the thing. I can't remember the actual like any of the actual like dialogue in the movie because again it was like 6 years ago, and although I watched it like a week ago, I still can't fully remember because it was quite like scientific and stuff as well. But I remember that just kind of. There's usually like one or two things with like every character where you do remember like something about them or something like that. Um, but I won't like list off every single one of my characters and every single one of those moments with them. But there's usually like one or two things like that from like every character that does stick out to you. But yeah, like those two Chongyun ones are sort of ones that stick out to me. Um, Bead, sort of just I don't know. With Bead, it's like a truly great pink sticks out to me. Like that one was like fun. Um, and yeah, and with Kent, it was sort of talking about Lady Lindis. I think was the line that kind of again I cannot remember like exactly what I say or anything like that, but just that's the one where I kind of like remember. That's just sort of the one that I think I immediately think of if you sort of like like Kent lines. It's like I remember talking about Lady Lindis. Like that's kind of the one that sticks out to me the most.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I imagine with like the more you do, the harder it is to like keep track of like which ones that were like okay, this one, and after a while, the newer ones kind of push out the
Yeah,
older ones, and then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that I did that almost.
it's one of those things where like when I like moved here or before I moved here or whatever, when I was sort of a sort of plucky young voice actor, sort of more when you're sort of in the sort of aspiring territory to the professional category, um you sort of you kind of like remember so much stuff you do, like I don't know, you remember like things you do in like the classes you take and stuff like that. And so you just at any time you like get any kind of work or anything, you like remember it really well. And then and you sort of and you hear other people be like, ah yeah, I just don't really remember that or whatever. And you're sort of like, how can you not remember that? How can you blah blah blah? Like I'm like so excited about this and so passionate about this and like I remember like every little thing I do and all this kind of stuff. But then but yeah, like you just kind of, and although I sort of have lost some of that sort of wide-eyed optimism of youth or whatever, I'm not like jaded or anything like that. I just want to make that clear. When I sort of say, sort of, oh, when I was like a plucky young voice actor or whatever, but it's just one of those things where yeah, you do just do enough gigs and time kind of goes by and you kind of remember things more on like vibes than like specifics. Like you sort of you kind of remember some things like intellectually like about well I kind of did this and kind of did that, but um and, like with the anime movie again, I actually still I again I couldn't remember like individual lines, but I remembered like most of the things that I did kind of thing. Like I knew I had the two lines at the beginning, and then I kind of knew I like okay, and then the next time you see me, it's like on the beach with like the kids, and then I know I'm like cooking with them at one point, and then I have one point where I like reunite with my like mentor like named Jim, and then there's one point where I'm like out with there's like the lady on the boat and I'm talking to her, and then I have my monologue. So I remembered all that stuff, but I can't really remember like what I particularly say in those moments. I remember when I'm like cooking with the kids, my character like eats a lemon. Like like he just eats a lemon. Like he squeezes a lemon and then he just like eats I don't think he even like chews it. He just kind of like inhales a lemon. And it's just the most random detail. But if anyone watches that movie, like I don't know if anyone like notices it, but it's just like a subtle thing. But it is. But my director Carrie, who's been in like Fire Emblem stuff as well, um, she was like hold on, can we just watch that again? I was like, did he just like eat a whole lemon? And we're like looking at it like, yeah, yeah, he just like ate a whole lemon. And so I remember that, but but I didn't like really voice that or anything, or I think I maybe like made like one little kind of eating inhaling noise. Um but um but yeah, so you do kind of like remember you do kind of remember things, and sometimes I'll look back at like old audition scripts or something. And I'll kind of remember it as soon as I like hear it or something, like, oh yeah, I kind of, or I see it or something. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember doing this. But yeah, but you just do like over the course of a year, you will do like hundreds of auditions. You'll do, a couple of dozen sessions, or however many sessions you end up doing or whatever. And yeah, and it does just kind of, and so even though you like cherish these things, you do just kind of, if you sort of ask me like, oh Beau, what are all the like idle Kent lines, or what were his, when he uses his special attack, what are the lines, like I sadly cannot like tell you anymore. I can't remember. I know I had tremendous
Yeah.
fun doing them. Again, I remember like how amazing it was to like do them, and I remember kind of again in the session. I sort of talked earlier about like it's helpful like if you are a gamer when you're a game, because again, when they're trying to explain like the special attack kind of thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the purple one. I know that, sort of thing. Like I just know what that means. It's like, oh, it's like the purple thing. Yeah, I got it. I know what that is.
Yeah, it's so hard to
You know.
on the fly remember a line from that many years ago that you would have done that was just with that one time in the booth. I know it's hard to like, unless it was like very memorable, it'd be hard to recall those ones that were more niche and everything. Like I believe of the one here for Lynn that you were in question is, let's see,
I'm
Lady
sort of going like
Lady
Lady Lindis is like
Lady
she's great and wise and lovely and beautiful and never mind kind of thing. Like that's the vibe of it. But
Lady Lindis is wise, kind, beautiful, and strong. She
yeah,
is honorable, and well, you see my point.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
line.
Yeah. So I remember that, and I remember and again, I kind of remember like again, you sort of remember like vibes and things. So I
Mhm.
kind of know like the relationship with Sane, so Sane is kind
Yeah.
of the more, again, I can't really sort of, I'm not like great with words, so it'd be hard for me to kind of like describe Sane, but it's kind of more, but Kent's kind of the more like sane, kind of one of the two, like kind of one of the two, a little bit,
Yeah.
like
Sane's the ladies' man. Kent is the straight man
yeah,
who's trying to keep the act in tow
Kent,
while
yeah,
Sane's hitting on Lynn.
yeah,
Yeah, Kent's just kind of like,
Kent's the more like we're
saying, maybe take your
knights,
job more
we're
seriously,
knights.
dude. I don't have time to babysit you,
Yeah, take your
man.
job seriously. Yeah, exactly. So like I kind of I know all that. Like I haven't. I'm not like Hussein or whatever. Like I know that like Sane's kind of like my buddy, and kind of like we're kind of like a bit of a pair, a duo. Like we kind of work for or serve under Lady Lindis. Um, so I like remember all that stuff, but yeah, and again, like with the line, before like Dan, you actually like read the line, like I probably got like I don't know, something between like 40 and 60% of that right,
You were
you know,
like
like
pretty
with
on the dot, like
yeah, so
That's pretty
pretty
much
good.
there.
You
Yeah.
got
you know,
majority of it easy.
yeah, but it's just kind of like but yeah, just sort of those specifics, um, because in terms of actual time, yeah, it's so funny as well when you do. When you play a game, sometimes you will like when you play a game, you like hear these lines over and over and over. But as a voice actor, it is just something where you probably have just done like an A and a B, so like you've done them like two different ways, and then they've just gone, oh, I like the B on that, and then right,
The
and then you
BTIC.
just move on to the
Yeah.
next one, and that's all it is. Like to you, that's all that experience is. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I liked how you did that on the second one. We'll take the B. Um, but you as a player like hear that line like again and again and again or something like that, so it's like for you it's like as a player it's like a big deal, but as a voice actor
Mhm.
it's, you might sort of know it's special or whatever, but again it's just you don't get to spend as much time with it as an actor as like a player does as a player.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's an interesting dynamic. But yeah.
Well, Beau, this is officially the longest stream of the con so far. We're approaching 3 hours now. I remember,
I told you we should have called it I told you we should have called it waffling with Beau Bridgland.
That's true. We probably should have renamed it halfway through the stream. But no, it's like we always make sure to have yours last at one of the days because we tend to get carried away and just start talking about everything from games to voice acting to lines and all this sort of stuff. But we're always happy to have you here.
I can tell you're a very passionate guy when it comes to Fire Emblem and what you do.
I like Fire Emblem.
I know, I can tell. It's so awesome. I was telling people, I'm like,
I don't know. We'll have to go another hour to make sure.
It's funny, my wife opened the door because
no,
her little mister is sleeping.
I will just say, you know, I'm like a huge Nintendo guy. I love Nintendo. It's just a very big part of my life personally. And although Fire Emblem hasn't been, say, as big a part of my, you know, Nintendo life as, you know, Mario or like Mario, you know, Mario and Donkey Kong are like my two early ones, and then sort of Zelda and Star Fox came along, and you know, whatever. And so yeah, Fire Emblem has only been I think it was 20, I want to say 2014, so maybe like sort of 12 years, but that's still like a long time, you know. And in that time, I've played Awakening, I've played Fate's Birthright at least, Echoes, and then I've done, you know, three Houses playthroughs, three Hopes, and now two Engage playthroughs, and it's like, so, you know, at this point, and I, you know, used to do like a ton of Heroes, and then, but, you know, I just sort of had to stop that because it's just mobile games are, you know, you have to do them like every day, and it's just hard, and I just couldn't keep up with it. And now, whenever I say like the announcement things, it's always just so funny when they reveal like the A, B, and the C skills, and like and you get like the scroll these days, where it's just like the gentle scroll.
God, it used to be just like two sentences, and now it's like a small essay for each one. It's like, oh my God.
Like they used to just be characters where like they had like an A and a C, and like the A and there'd be like, yeah, like one or two sentences each, and now you just get like the scroll.
I mean, for reference, it's like in the beginning it was like, yeah, so this character gets like a +4 attack and speed, and sometimes they gain HP
for one turn.
And now it's like, so if you
pull one up right now and start reading
over Y amount of turns divided by Z multiplied by I, and it's like, what? Why do I have to do math to do the math to do the math?
Hold on, and you pull up the game and to see who's the most recent character I pulled, and we'll compare. Oh my God! Wait, hold on. I gotta acquire Resplendent Lane at the moment. Hold on.
I was about to joke, like, Lady Lindis is strong and 4 turns and defense up.
She literally showed up on my door with a Resplendent version right as we did this. That's so funny. Oh yeah, because it's 12:01 now, so the day just turned over.
Oh yes.
Oh my goodness. So let's stop giving me notifications. I'm not doing that right now. Let's see. Obtain the character. What's the most actually, yeah, you can just go to like the most recent Lin, where it's like the duo of Lin and Lucina, for example.
Oh right, yeah.
And oh my God, yeah, there's like her signature skill for this one is called Sakei's Decree. So this one, it starts off as enables Kanto remaining minimum 1. So as the start of the player phase or enemy phase, grants empathy, and if unit initiates combat, reduces damage from a foe's first attack during combat by 40% to unit and allies within 2 spaces of unit for 1 turn. Disables skills of all foes, excluding foe in combat. It grants attack speed, defense resist +9 to unit. Deals +7 damage, excluding area of effect specials, and reduces damage from a foe's attack by 7 during combat, excluding area effect specials. And also, if decreasing the speed difference necessary to make a follow-up attack by 10 would allow a unit to trigger a follow-up attack, excluding guaranteed or prevented follow-up attacks, triggers potent follow 100% during combat. And then underneath that, it just talks about what all these other like things mean, like what is empathy?
What empathy is, because that's where my brain froze. Like,
yeah,
because I was like, empathy. I don't think that was a thing when I played.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
And that's just one skill. The other ones are also long, but not as long. But every unit has like these paragraphs upon paragraphs now, and it's just like I can't keep up with the math anymore. It's not really Fire Emblem at a certain point.
Yeah, that's a lot. But
Mhm.
anyway, but yeah, the point I was gonna get to is that I have spent hundreds, I have spent like hundreds of hours with this franchise over like the past decade, and so although it has come along a bit later than the other things, it is
Mhm.
one of my most favorites now. And even though again, like as time goes by or whatever, I will forget characters' names or whatever. It's like, oh, hang on, who were the like? I looked up like the black. I looked up like Three Houses characters earlier and stuff. I was like, oh, if I need to, I gotta remember the names if I'm gonna like talk about this game later or whatever. And I like completely forgot about like Linhart completely. Like I was looking at Black Eagles, I was like, oh yeah, Linhart. I mean, he was like one of my like sort of like least favorite sort of student characters or whatever, who I was like sort of just like less fussed about. Again, there are only like I don't know 3 or so characters like who are like students that I wasn't really fussed about, and I think he was like one of them. Um, but again, it's still one thing. Even though I say that, like I still liked him more than I thought I was going to. I was like, this guy at the
Yeah,
beginning,
yeah.
but then it was like, oh, actually, you know what, Linhart, you're all right.
That's
You're all
one thing
right.
that Three Houses
Yeah.
did exceptionally well, at least in my
Yeah.
opinion, is like they took like some of the characters, like you first hear them and they are just like annoying, and then like
Yeah.
and then after a while, like you get through the support and you're like, oh, you poor thing. Okay, you know what? I understand. It's okay. You're not as bad as I thought you were.
Yeah, some people will tell you that Linhart is a bit slept on.
Honestly,
So
like I there's been multiple times between like Three Houses and Engage where I'm just like just first impression I'm like I don't like this character. I can't stand it.
yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want to deal with them. But then it's like you get through the supports and you're like, oh, okay, I see. This is why you behave like this. So this is the kind of stuff you're going through. And I'm like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense at least. It's like okay,
Mhm.
you're not
I
as
like
annoying.
in Engage playthrough 1, I like hated Seedall when I first like met him. I just thought he was like rude, and then he's like rude to Tamara and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this guy. I was like, I don't care that he's a dancer, and like dancers are like OP. I've got like the Byleth ring on Saline, like that'll be fine.
Mm.
And it was. And although I still kind of like didn't really use Seedle much like this time either. I did use him for like a few minutes. Like I didn't use him at all like in playthrough 1, but I actually did a few times this time, and I unlocked like 1 or 2 of the other support conversations and stuff, and I just like didn't dislike him as much this time or whatever. I was kind of like, you're fine. Like I was probably just like harsh on you before or whatever because yeah, like it's the Fire Emblem magic. Like everyone is great. um, and because yeah, this it's an amazing series, and I am still so proud and thrilled to have been a part of it again. Again, I may not remember the like word for word quotes, but it's like I still you know think about it so fondly again. Like like I said, I saw Caitlyn IRL, and it was just like so nice because it was like, hey, you were like a big part of that like amazing session I had, and just like thank you for that because I didn't like get to say that to her. If I see her again, I will try to make a point of saying it. But like it's just but that session was like one of my favorites, and not like one because like it was Fire Emblem, but then it was just like an amazing session as well. So this series is just something that is very special to me. I think it is just a very special series in general for all the reasons we've talked about. Not the walls and walls of text on the mobile game, but the characters being so fantastic, and like deep and layered, um whilst having the amazing sort of like quote unquote big chess gameplay as I describe it. It's like it's big chess.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
and yeah, so it's very special. I hope that it keeps on going, and because I meant to look up
Yeah.
earlier. I won't look at it now because again we've got to wrap up. But I don't know how well Engage sold, because I know it's not like I don't know, like even like
Not as
Fire Emblem
well
Three
as
Houses didn't like the way people kind of like the way you'd like sort of see about it online, you would think like, oh, that has to have like sold like so many copies, but I think it was only like a few million, which I don't want to sort of put a like a few million, like any game developer would want to sell like a few million of something,
Yeah, like
but like. But the way people the as much and again maybe it's also because I was like in voice actor circles and I like follow all these voice actors on Twitter and they're like retweeting things and this that and the other, but there was something about Three Houses where I think you would think like, oh, that must have sold like so much, and it's like no, like Luigi's Mansion 3 sold like more than twice it or something like that, and you're like, oh, okay. Um, but again, it's just because of like, but the fandom is so big, and the the sort of how much these games really sort of penetrate like your heart and your soul, um that that is their power and their magic. Um,
So we
yeah.
actually do have some
Three
numbers. I
Houses.
believe I'm not sure if it's accurate, but from Phoenix Fox is saying Engage was the 67th highest selling Nintendo game, according to recent reports. Meanwhile, Three Houses is like in the 30s.
Yeah, Three Houses is
Okay.
the best-selling Fire Emblem series in the best-selling Fire Emblem
Yeah.
game in the series at about
Yeah.
4. It's a little bit over 4 million for Three Houses, and then Engage wasn't even half that. I think it's like 16 million or 16. Wait,
1.6.
1,600,000 for that
Yeah,
one.
something
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was like
but I
quite
mean
a
that's
drop
that's
off
still
between the
miles
two.
above what some of the series was doing
I
before
Oh yeah,
Awakening.
that
So
that eats three shit for breakfast.
I thought Three Houses was like over 5, but that's exactly my point. Like again, the with how sort of vocal the fandom is. I don't like saying vocal because that sort of makes it sound like people are like angry or something like that. But just but with how passionate people are. Again, you wouldn't sort of, so it may not be like the biggest series in terms of actual say like sales and sort of like numerical reach, but in terms of the actual kind of quality of the reach and like how special these games are and how much they sort of really resonate with people, it's just a real joy and a thrill to get to be a part of them, and fingers crossed for like more in the future potentially. I don't know, but that's kind of out of my hands, unfortunately. um
yeah,
but
abs-
but like it's still, I hope that they continue to keep going and that they do well, and I hope Fortune's Weave does well. And I mean, I imagine if they tap into the three housesness of it all a lot, then it'll probably do quite well. uh,
we'll see.
but but
Well,
we'll see.
with that, yeah. Well, with that in mind, thank you so much for joining us, Bo. We're gonna wrap this up
Thank
right
you.
here
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is
yeah,
getting late.
it's late.
We're gonna be back tomorrow early at 5:30. I'm gonna be posting or hosting a sort of panel. It's more of a watch along, but if anybody wants to join in before the actual panels begin later in that day at 7 a.m. Pacific, you're free to do so.
Yeah, it's like 5 hours
But
from now. You
otherwise,
poor soul.
yeah, yeah, it'll be fun. Otherwise, is there any like socials we can find you on, Bo, before we sign off?
That's the funny thing, isn't it? Because it's like I'm just not really on social media as again, like 2 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm on like Twitter and I stream on YouTube, and it's like, well, I'm not on Twitter anymore because, um, and then YouTube, I'm kind of like on a, I don't know,
Kind of like
I
a
can't think of the
hiatus at
phrase,
the
but
moment.
yeah,
Hiatus?
like, I was gonna say hiatus, but it was more no the ending in sight was the sort of aspect of the phrase. I was going to like
Mm.
something hiatus, but I can't think of the phrase. But anyway, yeah, I don't have like a date for when I'm gonna come back. I do definitely want to like stream again, but I don't know. I feel like my life needs to be a bit different, and
Yeah, I'm kind of having the
so,
same
Oh,
thing, so I
too
hear
real.
ya. Like,
I feel that.
so but I'll sort of find out eventually. Again, like it was just a bit hard before because I used to say like stream. Once upon a time, I'd like stream on like Saturdays, but it kind of meant I was giving up like one of my weekend days to sort of
Mm,
kind of do it. Like
I
I'd wake
see.
up, I'd stream for a few hours, and then I was like, oh, like don't have like a Saturday now, and it's like sort of the one of the 2 days a week where I'm like, I definitely don't have to like check my phone constantly for like auditions and stuff like that, and so and then I like streamed during like weekdays throughout like the strike and stuff like that, and that was nice, but it was like a lot. I kind of probably like overdid it a bit. Much like don't do blue lions and golden deer back to back. Like play some other games.
Oh yeah.
You know, between your three houses playthroughs.
As someone who did Fates, all 3 Birthright Conquests, and then Revelation, because it's all I have them all on one card. Don't ever do that. It's too much.
So
But
yeah, like play other games between playthroughs. But yeah, so anyway, sorry to actually answer the question so we can wrap up and go to bed. I do apologize for keeping you. I like threads. I'm like Beau.Bridgland. So I'm like Beau.Bridgland on like Instagram and threads. And then I am sort of technically on Blue Sky as like BeauVO, BeAuVO. So but that's kind of just more for like the big things, you know, like I don't like reply to random people and stuff like that really on Blue Sky, but it's where you see like role announcements and stuff like that. So yeah, those are probably the main things. I imagine if you just like Google my name and then it's like Blue Sky, Instagram, threads, and I mean, yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel if anyone's interested. I'll be back eventually, but those are probably like the 4 main things. I'm now thinking like, oh, do I need to check like what social medias I have on my website? Because I might have like old ones I don't really want people going to or thinking I'm active on anymore. But anyway, no, thank you both, and Oka, wherever you are, thank you as well. And have a very good night.
Yeah, you as well. It's been a pleasure having you, and I just
enjoy the rest of the con, everyone, as well.
I was gonna say, I'm very happy to have someone to chat with that honestly I think actually talks more than I do, and I didn't know if that was possible, but so I'm happy about it.
I'm one of those people very quickly. Sorry, Daniel's like, we gotta end this. But like, I'm just one of those people where I like generally am not good in like group situations, and I'm generally a person who like gets sort of shut out of them and stuff because I just and other people have like more commanding voices and presences and stuff like that. And so often I don't know, like you know, I can sort of find it hard to like have like group conversations or things where I can jump in or talk about things, or people might not talk about things that like I'm as knowledgeable and are interesting. So like when I get to like unleash like this and just talk about things that I like and know about, it's just really nice. So thank you for giving me that platform as well. Right, I will shut up now.
No problem. Anytime. We're always happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
We
all right,
should
everybody.
probably, head off because I know Sir Daniel has to be up in like less than like 5 hours for another panel that starts. The poor man needs to get some sleep, and Beau, I'm sure you do as well. And for me, it's like 1 a.m, and yeah, I've got a 6-year-old that wakes up early, so we all need to get some sleep.
All right, all. Well, with that in mind, we'll see you soon tomorrow morning, or I guess later today, depending on where you are. Yeah, we're signing off now, and we'll see you for day 4. Have a good one, everyone. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Sweet dreams, everybody.